Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. What is it? Just gone 6 o'clock. It is Wednesday, the 5th of November, which of course means it's Guy Fawkes night. It's bonfire night. Hope you have a cracker. That's all I'm doing. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Loads in the news today. Loads of ways that you can get involved. Let me nail that to start with. We're very happy that you're with us today. You can, of course, send a voice note, make a call, 0344 499 1000. And, of course, you can text throughout the morning, 87222. Do please start your message with the word talk. Christian and the gang ready and prepared to go. Three astonishing stories in the news today. And I'll just lay them out for you, because if this doesn't get you going, I don't know what's wrong with you. Labour, I know, has been accused of educational vandalism this morning. I don't even know what that means. Basically, they're going to tear up the national curriculum. Proposals from that mad bunch of people will see the... I have no idea, by the way, what this means. The decolonisation of books and texts, making sure that we don't say anything too untoward. That'll be good for diversity. They're also going to teach primary kids, that's my Oliver, all about climate change. Great. And they're also going to teach them how to spot fake news, so they won't be watching Panorama. Is it me? Am I missing the point? But don't you want your kids to be able to spell and add up? Decolonisation to create diversity, climate change and fake news? 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Don't we want our kids to, like, just know how to be able to just do things, like stuff that you need? What were 3 R's? What was the other R? I didn't know. We'll do it later. Also, I thought it would be a bit fun, bonfire night, teacher stories. Teacher stories. I'm not talking about did you have a crush on your teacher. I know that's going to happen, but there must be something out there. I've had 3 from Christian already. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Going to the spreading of fake news, the BBC yesterday, we broke that story, astonishing story about the Panorama programme and how they doctored Trump's speech about those Capitol riots a few years ago, how they put together 2 speeches. We played them both. They were 52 minutes apart. Your response to that was extraordinary. I think so many people agreeing that the BBC is in trouble. They wanted to raise the licence fee, and yet this morning, new accusations of bias. They're said to have minimised Israeli suffering in its coverage of the war, with Hamas to paint Israel as the aggressor. Well, we all know that they still refuse to call Hamas terrorists. And the BBC, you know, we go back there. It's supposed to be a state broadcaster, supposed to be an unbiased view of what happens. And what do we get? We get a leftist, ideologically based unit that seems to have its own plans. Director General Tim Davie, yet again, this man's got more lives than a cat. He should be sacked, should he? What do you make of that? The BBC, 0344 499 1000. Just to make you feel really good on a Wednesday morning, you're probably getting ready, sitting in a queue already, or getting ready for work. Sick note, Britain. Yeah, it's costing $200 billion a year. We also learned this morning that half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. I don't want to... I'll get into trouble. Former John Lewis boss Sir Charles Mayfield, who wrote the sick note report, says work can be demanding, but setbacks are part of life. Imagine that. Imagine being told that go to work, perform. If you don't perform, you might get criticised. You might have to double your efforts. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days. But if you get your head down and have it inside you, you can make something of your life. I can't do that. I'm feeling very anxious. God, this entitled bunch of kids. Calm, Kyle, calm. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Who is a man? Here is a man who has worked hard all his life, who shows no sign of anxiety, has never spoke about fake news, knows all about education and is single. We have to say a very good morning to the legend, the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party. He's trying. Matt Vickers, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
All good, all good.
This is lovely to see you so early.
Yeah, I haven't wet the bed. I got up.
Did you?
Here. I haven't had my Weetabix yet.
Probably why you're single, Weetabix and wetting the bed. Let's get straight to the papers, my friend. You'd know far more about this than me. Front page of the Mail for everybody just tuning in to Morning Glory. Labour dumbs down schools. Exams cut by 3 hours. Decolonisation of books and text. I know. What the hell does that mean?
It's terrifying, isn't it? I think basically the government is on a mission. They want to send us out with an army of Greta Thunbergs who can't read, write, and add up. You know, and the reality is actually, if you get the unions to make all of your decisions, if you get the people who bung your cash to make all your decisions, all of a sudden they give you the things that are easy to teach, that they fancy teaching, that teachers like teaching. It's the same with the economy. They're giving everybody huge pay rises. You know, the unions are running the country, and now they're running our schools. Actually, one of the things, you know what, you can criticise the last government for lots of things.
Yeah, no,
One thing they
I'll give you
nailed
this. Yeah, you
was
did.
education. We were climbing up league tables. We had the best readers, writers, mathematicians. We were doing very, very well in education. But yeah, it's all gone to pot. Some people might argue the reason that we're trying to well, the government are trying to dampen standards. It's a leveller, isn't it? It's a leveller. They're going to create a situation where the likes of David Lammy looks really bright. You know, that's where they're heading.
Is that ever likely to be a feasible thing? I mean, David Lammy looking bright.
Well, you know, if they make everybody else stupid, they look much cleverer. I think that might be part of the strategy.
But I mean, that is frightening. And to me, again, I sound old-fashioned. Other plans include teaching school kids about climate change, or as Richard Tice says, net stupid zero, how to spot fake news. Isn't it about, I'd love to hear from you this morning, isn't it about teaching our kids, like, how to write, how to read, how to know the difference between right and wrong? Diversity, honest to God, man.
You want kids to be able to leave school, get a job, get on in life. Actually, you're just seeing the complete opposite here. It's what do people fancy teaching? We'll have a go at that. It's disastrous, actually. And it tells you something, though. If you're educating all these kids about diversity and climate change, we're gonna have to create more of those DEI jobs. We're gonna have to have more people working at the council office talking about diversity and climate change and wasting all the money that the rest of us, all those idiots now, sat in their cars waiting to get to work, they're all paying for this rubbish.
I know, and you think to yourself, I'm trying to work out who would imagine this is a good idea. You talked about unions, but somebody like Bridget Phillipson seriously concerns me. When I look at her, I think, what are you on? But dumbing down our schools to what? Achieve a generation, as you said, that are all the same level and don't achieve anything, that what, will vote for Labour. I don't know where this stuff comes from. We'll talk about the sick note thing later, but it's almost like we're saying, you're all going to be the same, there's no aspiration, we're going to tax you so there's no point in setting up a business, we don't like anybody succeeding. As you said, we want everybody the same. I think it's an absolute disgrace. I was telling this story the other day. My daughter, Alice, is at university. I won't say where, because she'll murder me, Edinburgh. And she was in a lecture, and the guy literally said, you know, Britain is responsible for every world war. Its army is an aggressor. It's done this. It's colonised the world. It should apologise. It should have more migrants through the door. It should do this. It should do that. And you wonder how people like this, and it worries me in terms of education. I've got grandchildren and young kids. I've got more kids than Boris. But the truth is, you wonder, don't you, when you send them to school now, what they're being told.
Well, you're going to create a generation that hates our own country. But don't worry. They might not be able to read and write, but they'll be able to dance perfectly. You know, it is madness.
I've been somebody for a long time who thinks that education should also be more practical. I know people laugh at me when I say this. I'd love to know your thoughts on this morning. I'd like my kid to be able to leave and know how to change a plug or something in his car. I'm being completely serious. I do think that there are ways that we can make education more practical, but the basis of education... My wife, bless her, right, reads to my kids, if I'm not there, I did it last night, every single night. Does his little bit of homework, does his spellings, which got me thinking, maybe nobody will come on the show this morning. If you do come on the show this morning, either by phone or as a guest, this will be interesting to do to politicians, I'm gonna test whether you, Matt Vickers, and others are educationally normal or subnormal. What's 9/8?
72.
Oh! Vickers gets a point. Brilliant, they answer point.
That means you knew the answer before you asked it.
Yeah, no, I'm a mathematical genius. I'm not sure I could do this. How do you spell curriculum? No, don't look at the newspaper. How do you spell curriculum? Come on.
C-U-R-R.
Yes.
I-C-U-L-U-M.
Another point. Matt Vickers, no wonder you're a member of Parliament.
Newtown School, all the way.
What was that?
Newtown School, Stockton.
Did you went...
School of Hard Knocks. Yeah.
Was it?
It was a proper school, you know. Survival of the fittest. It taught you a bit about life.
Listen, good morning, Jez. If Labour improves schools and help further educate children, will it matter? Who's going to vote for them tossers anyway, says Richie in Grimsby.
That's another reason to make all these kids dumb. We want dumb kids who are stupid enough to vote Labour.
This is Steve. Well, it seems that those who were classed as conspiratists in regards to our kids' indoctrination rather than education were quite right then. There are conspiratist theories, and I don't really buy any of that, but there's a lot of people who will say, genuinely, Labour's on a mission to empower the unions, blanket approach to kids, dumb down all sorts of things. And when you see stuff like this, it's frightening, right?
It's terrifying. It's terrible, but it is. It's feeding into that next wave of people who hate Britain, who are going to be all about the green stuff, and it feeds into their own narrative. Actually, they don't want people asking too many questions. And the reality is, if everybody is able to add up and see the impact of what Rachel Reeves is doing to our economy, they're going to know there's.
Well, we'll get on to her yesterday. Yeah. I mean, that was quite possibly one of the most boring moments of my life. Labour dumbing down schools. Loads of fun. Jez, I'm 65 years of age. Even my dad said we are regressing years ago. We're not levelling up, but levelling down. Always easy to achieve the lowest common denominator, says Steve. Good morning to Sean in Gloucester. He says, the Labour Party will dumb down the kids, hoping they'll be stupid enough to vote for them in the future. With that and Rachel Thieves' completely mad destruction of the economy. I genuinely believe, says Sean in Gloucester, I'd love to know what Matt thinks, that we are in an incredibly difficult and dangerous position in this country.
It's terrifying. We've lost control of the car. These people are at the wheel, and it's driving us off the cliff.
But you know what I'm going to say to you, because we have debates. That's your fault. That is your party's fault. I will 1,000,000%.
If all hadn't fought like cats in a sack, if they hadn't made we let them in. But actually, people out there didn't vote for them. They got 34% of the vote. And they got the majority doing what the hell they want. That's
what I love, by the way, about this man, for people tuning in, is you've always, on the shows that I've done, you've always said that. It was arguing like cats in, what did you say?
Cats in a sack, rats in a sack. I don't know which fight's more, actually.
No, three prime ministers, and actually, yes, 34%. But frighteningly, so many people who listen to talk, we're about common sense, and they say, how is this Labour Party? And this is another example, dumbing down education. This is interesting, Jennifer. Get this. You ready for this? She has just Googled what the 3 R's for, and it's come back: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Is that true? I mean, my God, that's another. Don't start me on that. This is ridiculous. Mark in Croydon. Morning, Mark. Hope you're OK. I do think the education needs reform, as we don't really teach things people need, such as finance skills, practical skills. The issue is the education system, I think, is too idealistic and left-wing. They want to push an agenda on kids. How about saving money, cooking, common sense, all those sorts of things? It's true, isn't it?
We were having the big debate yesterday about businesses, about the fact that we can't get people to set up business anymore, partly because they're all getting battered by our friend at number 11.
Yeah.
But also, actually, we don't do business education. Kids don't learn about the benefits of saving money, of work, of building a business. Those real skills that could actually generate them a bit of cash, but also generate cash for the Treasury. We don't teach them those things. We don't teach them the real subjects they need to be learning.
It's not actually in my 3 main news stories today, but I want to talk to you about Rachel Thieves yesterday. Before that, this is interesting. I mentioned earlier that Sick Note Britain is costing 200 billion. This has got you. Apparently, kids can't go to school or work because they're suffering from anxiety. Good morning, Laura.
Morning, Jeremy. Laura in Wiltshire. Sick Note Britain. I was in Salisbury yesterday, parked near a McDonald's about 11 o'clock in the morning. There were queues of people, maybe about 10, 15, with big home delivery bags getting ready to load up. Who is at home getting McDonald's on a Tuesday morning at 11? I wonder.
She's so posh, isn't she? Who is at home on a Tuesday morning getting back? She's right, though, isn't she?
You finish about 10, don't you?
Yeah, I don't eat McDonald's. She doesn't get a body like this by eating McDonald's. Can I just ask you, as the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, Reeves waffle bomb, as it says in front of the Daily Mail this morning. The speech was all bluster and lies, but one thing is very clear. Every striver in the land is about to be clobbered for her and the Labour Party's complete incompetence. I thought it was absolutely unbelievably ridiculous, that speech yesterday. She didn't say what she's going to do, but you and I know exactly what Rachel Reeves is going to do on November the 26th.
Well, the problem is, I don't know how much worse it can get. When you look at what's happening, I mean, I don't think actually the public have picked up to how bad things are. I think when you see our businesses are closing at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. When things went completely off the cliff before, businesses were closing at the same rate. If we're in that position, if 17% more people are joining the dole queue and are unemployed, what does that mean to what gets spent tomorrow? If you're not working, if you're not earning, if you're not able to provide for your family, if you're not able to live out your dreams, you then have to rely on the state to fund you, which means all those guys sat in the car this morning on the way to work, they're all going to be paying for more people to be on benefits. It's terrifying, and it's only going to get worse.
And as a true Tory, actually, genuinely to you for once, it must frustrate you so much that the problems that your party went through and the fact that you lost sight of what I've talked about many times, our traditional Tory values, which is low tax, encouraging growth by encouraging business, celebrating success, building just a feeling of attainment, that all of this is being crushed under this mad Labour ideology of, as you said earlier, everybody's got to be the same, we don't like success. Nobody's worked out, have they, in her damn department, that anybody who's successful, all these people apparently who are leaving the United Kingdom, people who have made a lot of money, built businesses, employed people, paid millions to the exchequer in tax, are going to disappear off to Dubai and will lose that as well. I don't understand. I don't know whether they're just mad or they're just full of hatred for anybody that's ever achieved anything. It's so narrow-minded, in my opinion, and dangerous.
Well, they just want to tie... I mean, we had a big debate yesterday in Parliament around the fact that, you know, you've got this unemployment bill coming down the line where anybody who dares to employ anybody, not only are they paying all this money NNI and being taxed to death for it, they're then going to be tied up in red tape where everything is on the side of dodgy employees, actually, making it harder for anybody who wants to take the punt, employ someone, create a job. And the people who lose out, are the people who end up out of work, but more importantly, it's the young people, because you can't take the risk of employing the young person anymore, so they don't get their foot on the job ladder. It's a disaster, and it's getting worse.
Isn't it interesting? Isn't it right, actually, not interesting to say that, and you're only 42 and single, isn't it interesting to, we'll talk more about that, isn't it interesting to say that, I mean, I'm old enough to remember 79, and what the Labour Party has always done, I said it yesterday, is not spend what they earn, they spend more to complement their union mates or whatever. We then end up in a situation where we are borrowing so much, we go to the IMF on bended knee, they give us a loan, we pay ridiculously large amounts of interest, and the country is skint. And I go back for a reason. You know, the one thing that I always thought about the Tory party for years and years was that those fiscal responsibilities, the law and order, the military, the borders, and that must frustrate you so much, because this is madness. Financially, I think she's probably the most incompetent Chancellor I've ever witnessed in my 60 years. The education thing this morning, it isn't an overreaction to say it's frightening. We've got loads of response. Mick in Wallington, to protect pupils and staff, CCTV must be installed in classrooms and university tutorial rooms. I worry about what's being told. Paul from Manchester, morning, mate. He says, morning, Matt. The school curriculum is broken. When I was at school, I learnt woodwork, metalwork and home economics. Absolutely.
He could have gone out and got a real job, made things, did things.
Sign on. No,
money,
come on.
No,
No, for goodness sake, why not sign on? Do you know what? I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to. A member of my family, he signed on when he was going through what he was going through. And actually, the reason he signed on was he was getting more doing bugger all every week than going to work in a McDonald's or in a basic job. And I don't understand that. I always thought that the welfare state was to say, you know what, if you're in hard moments, we'll support you. But we're now in a situation where it seems to help people who aren't prepared to put anything in. And then when you do go there and you go, oh, by the way, I've worked for 10 years, I'm having a hard time, you can't have anything. On the economy, says Sean in Bridlington. Have you been to Bridlington?
I have. Beautiful place. You go on your holidays there.
I was off at the summer season there one. I'm joking. I'm dissolving my limited company today. It was to be an AI tech business we've been developing since April. I no longer see the point in doing it. It's ridiculous. I'm chucking it in.
He's one of hundreds of people across the country doing exactly the same thing. Looking at what the government's doing to people who dare to get up early, to go out to work, to try and earn a living and create jobs. And they're having to make these decisions. It's horrifying. It has real consequences for people.
Let's listen to Rachel Reeves. This is previous promises on tax. Just to refresh.
Conservatives are now the party of high tax. On their watch, the tax burden is the highest in 70 years. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics. I know what it takes to run a successful economy. I believe in sound money and in public spending that's kept under control. I did not come into politics to raise taxes on working people. So my promise to you is this. Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT.
Let's just fast forward to yesterday, because that wasn't yesterday, that was some time ago. This was yesterday, Rachel Reeves.
I will make the choices necessary
to deliver strong foundations for our economy. My budget, led by this government's values of fairness and opportunity, and focused entirely on the priorities of the British people: protecting our NHS, reducing our national debt, and improving the cost of living.
She's a liar, isn't she?
Somebody asked yesterday in the House of Commons, they said, would she know the truth if it hit her in the face, given her sloppy CV, given her pledges on tax, and it was ruled out. The Speaker would not let them ask the question. But I mean, it's terrifying. All these pledges to get behind the wheel of the car and drive this country off the edge of the cliff, and they get away with it. But who haven't they lied to? Which promise have they not broken? If you're a pensioner, if you're a farmer, if you're a small business person, it's just... If
you're a waspy woman, if you're a farmer, if you're a pensioner, all of us. And I think that, I mean, we'll move on and we'll talk about Sick Note Britain later, but I think there is a growing, and I've said this many times, and I make no apology, I just think that for years we've all done our bit and behaved as impeccably as we can. But when the country's skinned, and food is 3 times more, and electricity prices, energy prices go up, and when you feel like you're still putting it in and others are getting more and the government doesn't even listen, I think the silent majority have had it, mate. And I'm not conspiratorial. I'm not trying to say we should... I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying I think the silent majority have suddenly gone, do you know what? My voice matters. This was your leader. You know Kemi Badenoch, do you?
Yeah.
This was... she described the speech yesterday as a waffle bomb. Have a watch.
The Chancellor's speech was one long waffle bomb. A laundry list of excuses. She blamed absolutely everybody else for her own choices, her own decisions, her own failures. She claims she will focus on the priorities of the British public. Whose priority is it to pay more tax? It is basic economics that if you tax something, you get less of it. Remember those graduates who aren't finding work? Some people are blaming AI. It's not AI's fault. You can draw a direct line between what Rachel Reeves did in the budget last year and the dire prospects that many of those graduates are facing now.
I'm going to tell you a story briefly before we go to a break. I told it before on Drive. A friend of mine's partner has kids, and one of the daughters is dating a young man who got a first-class honours degree in economics from Durham University. 9 GCSEs, 4 A-levels, the equivalent of, and he'd done internships.
Good Northern University.
Yeah, wanted to work in the finance business, spent a year and sent 200 applications for jobs and never heard anything back, and was told by a friend of his, and this is absolutely on my life, was told by a friend of his to change on his application 2 words. He wrote non-binary and he was given 4 interviews in the next 2 weeks. The world's gone mad, Matt Vickers.
If only he'd studied some climate change subject, he'd have been, you know...
So there you are. If you're going to school, by the way, you won't be learning about the 3 hours. You'll be learning about a decolonisation of books because you need to be diverse. You'll be learning about net stupid zero and to spot fake news, which is what we'll be talking about after this break.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Just gone 6:30. This is JK on Morning Glory. Three main news stories we're covering today. Educational vandalism. That's what Labour's been accused of this morning. Are you ready for this? They want to decolonise the books your kids read to create diversity. They want to teach our kids about climate change and how fake news is really important. Talking of which, the BBC under more pressure this morning. Yesterday, you might have seen. I'm going to play it. This was absolutely extraordinary yesterday. This is not pro-Donald Trump. This is anti-the BBC, the organisation that's supposed to be what? Our national broadcaster, wants more money from you every day. This is them. Firstly, I'll play you what they played on Panorama about Trump's speech over the Capitol Hill riots. I'll then play you what he actually said. The speeches were 52 minutes apart. Have a watch, have a listen.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party. I mean, the BBC, I will continue to take aim. That is utterly, utterly disgusting. More this morning, they're said to have minimised Israeli suffering in its coverage of the war to paint Israel as the aggressor. They still refuse to call Hamas terrorists. What do you make of the BBC?
It's entirely atrocious to edit someone's speech like that. I mean, it's bad enough when you see the clips and the bits that people want to, without context on these interviews that you give, but actually to edit the thing is a disgrace. Yeah, actually, it's not unprecedented for the BBC to stoop to new levels. We saw that Bob Crook or Bob Villan or whatever the hell he's called. We saw him broadcast from Glastonbury with this
5 hours.
Absolutely anti-Semitic crap that nobody kicked, nobody caught.
Death to the idea.
Some ridiculously overpaid executive is responsible for that.
Tim Davie,
job for it.
The Director General was at Glastonbury and allowed that to be streamed for 5 hours. Now, another thing, sorry, this is just me and this is very personal. I know I find any racism abhorrent. I've said it repeatedly, but I will forever talk about how anti-Semitism is not given the same credence as other racism in this country. I think the way the Jewish community has been treated is disgusting. I have no idea how Tim Davie survives.
You saw that documentary, the Hamas terrorist's son voicing over a documentary.
And he got paid, by the way. And he got paid for it.
The book has to stop. This isn't me and you having to go on YouTube and create news. These are very well paid people, paid by the taxpayer. We are forced to cough up money to subsidise this absolute garbage. It cannot be allowed to go on. Somebody needs to be held to account. If David doesn't think he's the man, he should have got rid of somebody else. This cannot be allowed to carry on. Funded by the taxpayers.
So the other thing that I don't understand about the BBC, and Reform are quite outspoken about the BBC, is seemingly it's sort of on this pedestal, a bit like the NHS. It wants more and more money. It refuses to live in a world of choice, which the rest of us have to do. You know, you have to subscribe. You have to prove your worth with figures and with response. But the BBC is this sort of huge sort of, I don't know, thing that's been around forever, but surely the basis of a national broadcaster is that you want responsible broadcasting, you want unbiased broadcasting. this sounds like a label, it's not meant to. This is a left-wing, ideologically based, completely warped, money-grabbing, out-of-date waste of space, isn't it?
You're right, it could have a real value. Had it been neutral, had it been a real national broadcast, it could add real value. And actually, the other problem is whenever they cut the BBC, they cut the wrong bits. Because where the BBC subsidises its regional, local coverage, the bit that big commercial organisations can't get involved, well, can't really fund and make work, that regional news that people really value and want to hear. But that's where they take the axe first, and instead, you know, the money's filtered off to the likes of Gary Lineker to have great, you know, great whopping wages and feed out rubbish like this that's outrageous. Biased.
Loads of responses this morning. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. Hello to Brian, who simply says, I'm up north. You see, the Labour Party would think that was just north of Watford Gap. Morning, Jez. I've said for years now for parents to look at their kids' curriculum and maybe question the direction of education. Homeschooling, in my opinion, is on the increase and will continue to be so. I can hear the arguments between parents and their kids over what is being forced upon them. We shouldn't be teaching children how to think. We should be giving them the tools to become better adults. Jez, I live in an area where teachers, this is from Kev Mears, interesting, this is from Shropshire. Teachers and retired teachers live in what seems to be in disproportionate numbers. I'm about the same age as you, and for a long time I've believed that teachers are only interested in creating people in their own image, so they're busy implementing Blair's dream of 50% university educated. Great that is, those university educated ones don't do normal jobs. We need to be talking to people about the reality of life. Most people like me who are self-employed, plumbers, decorators, bricklayers, sell stuff, contractors to bigger companies, are independent. I control my own time. The fact of the matter is, I think we should be doing it differently for our kids. They are the future. Shane's got a point on education. Morning, Shane.
Right, Jez, and my old mate Shane here in Bournemouth. Going back to that university lecturer saying that Britain's responsible for every war and this, that and the other. They shouldn't be teaching kids stuff like that, because they're teaching the kids to hate the great-grandparents who fought in that war and the great uncles who fought in that war. How can these university lecturers turn around and say that we're responsible for everything? It's disgusting, and they should be absolutely sacked from their jobs. So anyway, that's my grumpy rant over with the morning. Have a good day, mate.
Great, 25. It's right, though, isn't he? Why do governments? Right. You were in power for 14 years. Why is there not more control? I know. Look at his face. Just think why is there not more control over the education?
They've literally took the brakes off, and the unions are now running the show. The reality is we are going to create a generation of people who hate Britain. We have so much to be proud of in this country. It is atrocious. It is disastrous. We're going to have a gang of Greta Thunbergs who hate Britain, who can't add up, who can't read and write. It is disastrous.
Is it now politically unacceptable? I mean, I struggle with I'm proud of my country because of the mess this country's in. But is it being taught to kids that we shouldn't be proud of anything?
Everything we've done, everything we've ever achieved, everything, you know, part of that, some of those wars were about us going out there and doing the right thing for the world to
Guess who abolished slavery, people? The British. But you won't hear that, will you?
It's grim. It's very, very grim. And actually, it's probably one of the biggest responsibilities of government is to, A, help people get jobs, get on in life and work hard. And the next thing that we as a generation have to do is to be able to hand over something better than what we inherited. And that is just not going to happen the way that we're going on.
I do find it frightening that, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, on the day we wake up and apparently educational vandalism is being levelled at this Labour government. It's all about diversity, it's about climate change, it's about this, it's about that. The very basics of you know, you know, Thatcher used to say, Norman Tebbit, if you want a job, get on your bloody bicycle. You know, if you want to buy your house, save up. Aspiration, that's the word I was looking for this morning, seems to go out the window with this government. Yeah. Aspiration is something that it's frowned upon to want to get on.
Working hard, doing the right thing, climbing the ladder, disastrous, terrible thing that people should want to aspire to achieve something in life. But I also feel sorry for some of the teachers out there. There are great teachers out there who actually want to create kids who can go out and conquer the world and get great jobs, but they're leaving the trade.
That's a really good point. Well done, Matt Vickers. Should be a radio presenter. I'd love to hear from teachers this morning. I mean, I could wind you up and say you get 20 weeks holiday a year, but I don't mean that. I'd love to know from genuine teachers who vocationally do it because they care, as Matt said, How do you feel about a system that's telling you that you should be pushing diversity, climate change, how to spot fake news? Do you believe that's right, or is it impinging on your abilities to do right by those kids? 0344 499 1000. Dave in Aberdeen. How long before we'll have to have a Starmer haircut for men and a Rachel Thieves one for women? Welcome to the Socialist Republic of Doom. It's not great, is it? Hello to Keith. He says, Rachel from accounts is the sole reason people have lost faith in politicians. Everyone knows she's going to raise income tax. Can't she just come out and say it? I didn't really understand that whole thing yesterday morning. It's just...
well, I mean, the reality is, I don't know how well she did at school, but if you're that creative in writing your CV, we could all get great jobs.
She looked frightened.
Regardless of how we do it.
Did she not look frightened to you yesterday? She was like that. She looked like she. Somebody said she looked like a sort of a drone, a sort of AI. It was just like it just didn't work, did it?
A drone might do a better job, I think.
I'm going to play this voice note, but all I've got is Anna on the. Nothing else has come through. What is it on? Do you want me to play it? I can't hear you. There, I'll just play it. This is Anna. Good morning.
Morning, Jez. Anna, sorry. So I've started businesses since I was 20 years old. I'm the wrong side of 50 now. Currently, I have one sole trader. I stop when I hit a certain income bracket because I refuse to pay this monstrous government any more tax, and I no longer employ anyone. I would love to start a business, but I'm not going to until reform get into. Why? Because I work in the luxury industry, and right now no one, even fairly well-off people, have got any money to spend if I start a business. There's no point in doing anything until this government are out. I might even sign on, Jez. That might be fun.
Don't be so ridiculous. What I want to know from that call is luxury industry. You should have seen the boys through the glass. They're going, I wonder what that is. Furs, handbags. Any other thoughts? Matt Vickers has got right in the face. Is it the time to talk about how you're single? Is it difficult as a politician? You told me the other day, what should you do? I said, walk through IKEA.
I probably need to get in the luxury industry.
Need to borrow a child. I can lend you one. I've got 6. And this is a genuine fact. Go to the supermarket and walk up and down the frozen aisle. See, Christian and I, Nick can borrow his kid as well. We'll give him a break. Women love 40-year-old men. Oh, he's got his little niece or nephew out.
Why the frozen food aisle? Is that
I don't know. Why did I say that?
I mean, you're cost effective. You're buying frozen food. It's you're sensible.
Any aisles that are available at this moment, Matt. So give that a go, all right?
I'll give it a whirl. I'll let you know how I get on next.
It must be difficult as a politician to find love.
Well, we'll see what messages come in.
Blind MP date in the next 20 minutes. 20 to 7, 0344 499 1000. We want to hear from you on those 3 main news stories this morning. Labour are being accused of educational vandalism. When your kids go to school, they're going to learn about climate change, fake news, and how we need to decolonise books and text to help diversity. Let's forget maths and English. More fake news from the BBC. I'm not... somebody had a go at me yesterday. Are you saying that you shouldn't buy a licence fee? Not at all. If you want to pay a licence fee, I just don't think in this world, for an organisation that's supposed to be unbiased and patently isn't, we should be paying 180 quid. I think the Director General should be sacked. I think they're a biased, ideologically based waste of space. And coming next, get yourselves ready. Sick note Britain. Don't know where you are, waiting to queue up somewhere to go to work, about to get out your car, you've been already 2 hours up, or like me, 2:30. Sick note Britain's costing 200 billion quid a year, peeps. Half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. No comment. Just go to the ad break before I lose it.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Very good morning to you. It's approaching 7:15 on Wednesday, the 5th of November. Two important moments. It is, of course, firework night. We'll talk about that, bonfire night. Also, it's the day that a year ago Donald Trump secured his second term as president. We'll be playing some of his best bits during the show, but I want to talk to you about Sick Note Britain. Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, with me. I just have to really control myself. Sick Note Britain, Matty, is costing more than $200 billion a year. We learned this morning that half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. This report was created by the former John Lewis boss, Sir Charlie Mayfield, who says that work can be demanding. This is what people told him, but setbacks in his mind are part of life. And people, their feelings like I'm tired, stressed, I hate my boss, shouldn't be sort of confused with genuine health things. So, you know, where I come from, you had to basically be losing an arm for my mother to give us a day off school, or the fact that you didn't go to work, right? That's the way it was. You had to graft. That's you got from something. I do that with all of my kids. You're not getting anything for nothing, right? Are we not also, apart from educating them wrongly, breeding a generation of entitled kids? Sorry, that's what I think. Who are not being taught that you have to make an effort, start at the bottom, work your way up. We're giving them too much, too quickly, for too long.
I think, do you know what? I mean, the reality is it's something like 3,000 people a day are signing on to sickness and incapacity. But someone's got to pick up the tab for that. Do you know what I mean? And actually, young people who have bad nerves and anxiety, the best thing you can do for those young people is send them to work.
Yeah.
It makes them more rounded individuals.
Do you know what they say to me? They go, oh, the thing is, it was COVID. Everybody was at home. Well, don't work from bloody home. Go to the office, interact, meet people, but they don't like this. We need to be in an environment where we don't feel we're being judged, where we don't feel it's competitive. Why? Well, competition's good, isn't it?
We've just been talking about education. Oh, less exams. They're hard. Life is hard. Yeah. Life is about work, it's about getting on, about doing things that you might not like to do, but they're very necessary to do. That's the education system is going to make this worse. We've got more people signing on than ever before. But actually, the other problem is we haven't got the jobs to go around at the minute. 100,000 jobs have been lost in the hospitality sector. That's jobs in communities across the country. And those are the jobs usually that the young person gets, collecting the glasses, pulling the pints on a Saturday night. It's horrendous. The world is getting... We are handing to the next generation a much worse world than we inherited.
I think the traditional values of hard work and you know, it goes so deep for me. I was brought up that you opened a door for a woman, you worked hard, you didn't break the law. You've now got kids who decide... I mean, for me, the welfare state was a great invention, one of the greatest in the world, to help people who can't help themselves. It's become a career choice. That is fundamentally wrong. We're creating a generation that can choose to sign on. I'm not saying that in a sweeping way for people who are about to go, I've been looking for work for... Yeah, you have, bless you, and that's what's wrong, because those who are and turn to the welfare state for help are missing out, because it's either illegal migrants or people who are gaming the system. £200 billion a year because people are going, oh, a mate of mine has 12 people working for him, and this particular individual was crap. I'm not going to dress it up. It's the morning. And he sort of played with his conscience. What do I do? So he told them. Well, I mean, they took 3 months off for anxiety. You're not very good at your job. Let me make suggestions about how you could do it better. I'm not coming in for 12 months, and 12 weeks.
The cost is to the taxpayer, or actually it's people who genuinely need help. The people who need it as a safety net, who need help getting into it, can't get it because there's so many hundreds, thousands more people joining that pile of people who, without aspirations, without the ability to take home that pay packet, it is so grim.
I started work at 12 cleaning cars. I wanted to clean more cars than anybody else. What it was in those days, £1 a car or whatever, I don't know. So this morning, if you're waking up to Morning Glory, we're talking about how Labour wants to decolonise books and text to create diversity in kids' schools. They want to teach your kid about climate change and also important things like fake news. Your thoughts on that will be welcome. The BBC is also under more pressure today, having doctored that Trump speech yesterday. They've been accused of minimising Israeli suffering and painting Israel as the aggressor in the war. This is an organisation, to be fair, who still won't call Hamas a bunch of terrorists. And if you are heading out for work, queuing for traffic, wondering how you're going to pay your bills, just sign on, because let's be honest, Sick Note Britain's costing $200 billion a year. Save that, park your car at the side of the road, phone up somebody and say, I'm feeling very anxious, I can't come in today, I'm going to take 12 weeks off. Good Lord. Sean's in Warwickshire. He says, good morning, Jeremy and single Matt. I have an email from my granddaughter's school. This is terrible. Where she's being taught Islamic ways and Islamic history. She's 10 years of age. I couldn't be less happy about this situation. What do I do?
It's terrifying. But I mean, the other thing is you're seeing the real subjects making space for this.
Yep.
You're making, the maths, the English are going out the window. But then they're on about removing foreign languages. I was never any good at French, but actually I think that every kid should have the right. It shouldn't be something that people have to go to posh private schools to be able to access. Because
I don't mean to be rude.
Too busy loading people up with this junk.
I don't like the French, right? I agree with you, but I'd actually prefer the kids in this country to be able to speak and write English, unless I'm missing the point. Do you know what I mean? Morning, just I haven't watched BBC programmes for 3 years now, including the news or the ITV News. It feels like they're just lying to the public. Sarah from Wiltshire. By the way, talk is all the news I need and all I watch. Thank you. Good morning to Neil. If school kids are going to be talking about climate change and fake news, wouldn't it be better to combine them into the same lesson? No, I'd say ban it all. Steve's in Cambridge. There's no point in sacking the CEO of the BBC. He would just be replaced by someone else in the corporation. It's rotten to the core. Just close it. Gillian from Essex. Guys, we have a company with like-minded people and we have a laugh. We will not hire now because you cannot say anything because someone might get offended. I'm 70. In my time, you could meet potential partners. It used to be fun. Anxiety is life. Only the young now thinks that anxiety makes them sick. I don't know whether to feel sad for them. I just feel angry. I'm sorry, I don't get it. My kids grow up. I don't get it. I don't understand how you don't want to improve on things.
Well, I thought that was quite an interesting observation. That it doesn't watch the BBC anymore because it tells that. Well, it does. We've just seen how it does tell lies. That fake news that it completely proliferates is disastrous.
Max is in Minchinhampton. Do you know where Minchinhampton is?
Sounds posh.
Yeah. Morning, JK. Another woke story for you. A prep school for 3 to 7-year-olds in Epsom has banned the term Mufti Day for the last day of term. It has rebranded Own Clothes Day because the head teacher felt that Mufti was colonialist. She's also said it's not a faith school, but they celebrate Diwali. In a way, she's right. The staff have lost complete faith in her.
I've never heard of mufti before.
Mufti is when you can wear your home clothes. You probably know that word in another context, but I don't know really. But so it's Own Clothes Day. So Mrs. Carl, morning, she's watching with Ollie and Iris. Morning, sweetheart. Oliver has mufti days. Can't call it that anymore, Vic. It's Own Clothes Day. That's unprofessional. Paul in Crewe. Been to Crewe?
Yep.
I'm a secondary PE teacher and I've just had a look at the list of experts involved in the education review. Not a single name from the world of industry and business. And Catherine Burblesing, one of, if not the best head teacher in the country, is not involved. Get her on the show to review the curriculum changes. Be good to know her views. Very true.
That is a cracking idea. That is something you should definitely be doing. We'll text her after the show.
Right, OK, sorry, honestly, he's now calling the shots. Matt Vicker's only been here 50 minutes. No wonder you're single, domineering. So could you try and get Catherine Burblesing? It'd be very interesting. Very good. We're going to come back with Donald Trump. Sum up Donald Trump in one sentence.
Well, he's a mover, he's a shaker, he's turning things up.
What he says
he's solving the Middle East peace process. The guy, scares people a little bit, but gets things done.
It's the day a year ago he won his second term. After the break, some of his best bits. We'll go to that break with a voice note on Perry. Perry, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Like I said before, I've stepped away from Conservatives and I have gone Reform. And the reason for me is that 50% of the Conservative parties are Lib Dems, 40% are Greens, and only 10% are actual true Conservatives. And they are the only ones that come on radio stations like yours, the 10%. It's like the other 90% have just been told to keep quiet, step back until after the next election.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Morning Glory is on. It's Wednesday, the 5th of December. No, it isn't November. It's bonfire night, the day that Donald Trump, 12 months ago, secured his second term. Let's look at this. This is brilliant. This is reminisce. Do you remember when he worked in McDonald's? Have a watch.
She's doing a good job?
Does an excellent job.
She better, right? Yeah, she's beautiful. Let's go.
All right.
Oh, I see. Now I'm going to see that. Oh, that's your customer out there. Look at this guy. He's a MAGA guy all the way.
Okay, so for his first order, yup.
Well, that's a good-looking group. Hello, everybody. This is not a normal situation, is it, huh? How are you? What a good-looking family. Thank you. How did you produce those good-looking kids? Give me, oh, they look like the wife. They look like the wife. How are you? Nice to see you.
Brilliant. Genuinely, can you imagine a politician in the United Kingdom doing that? He's just got the common touch, hasn't he?
Well, I mean, when you contrast him with Starmer, there couldn't be a bigger contrast. Because there's a guy with character who's interesting. He's got better hair. He's got better tan. Yeah. He's interesting.
And he does what he says he's going to do. Very quickly on that, Tim, on the way to London, can he ask Matt how he feels about making manifestos a legal contract? No delivery or significant advance on promises, you're sacked.
I think, do you know what? If there's one lesson we've learned during this Parliament with this government, it's not to believe a thing that's written in a manifesto.
Yeah.
They've broken every promise they made. They have one promise left, and they're going to break it when they deliver that manifesto.
Graham says you seem like a decent guy and he believes you're wasting your career with a party that can't even decide policy on their own front bench. Graham's in Inniskillen.
I think, do you know what? Do you know what the big difference is between us and the other guys? And the reason why I'm sticking with it. I remember when I formed my opinions about political parties, and there was a choice. There was the Labour Party, who want to cut everything up, divvy everything up, and even if you can't be bothered to go to work, good on you, doesn't matter. And then there was a party that is about aspiration, that's about reducing benefits, that works hard, that enables people. And actually, the contrast remains that we're going to be the people who balance the book. We're the people who are going to keep that two-child cap in place.
You got a minute and a half, Matt Vickers. You are a legend. On page 3 of the Mail, I have to do this for you. This is a test of how you are. Are you or are you not a gentleman in 39 steps? I failed miserably. 5 questions for you. Are you a good kisser?
I'm sure somebody will tweet and give a view on that.
Do you enjoy gin in a tumbler, not a balloon? It's brilliant.
Easy.
Who was the best 007? Roger Moore?
I agree. I think Roger Moore was the best.
Absolutely outrageous. It was Sean Connery. Can you poach and scramble eggs?
Could have a go.
And this is the big one. Are you a gentleman? Do you use moisturiser?
Do I look like it? Man, no, you were itching me earlier and you gave me a few years off.
Do you use moisturiser?
I probably have a go at it, but I imagine it's, yeah. I'm not particularly good on the health.
I agree with that text. You're one of the few Tory MPs that comes here, puts your neck on the line. You're very honest. We're delighted to have you on the paper review. Please come back. And if you are listening and you'd like to go out for dinner, we can sort that out with him. 0344 499 1000 is our telephone number. It's Morning Glory for Wednesday, the 5th of November. Of course, it's bonfire night. The news at 7. Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, will talk education, the BBC and Sick Note Britain after the news at 7, which is next.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile. The home of common sense. This is Talk.
A very good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday, the 5th of November. You're with Morning Glory on, of course, Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Loads of ways to get involved this morning. You see it on the screen. You can hear it from me. 0344 499 1000 is the number. You can send a voice note to that same number. You can text throughout the show, 87222. Just start your message with the word Talk. We're talking about three main things this morning. Appallingly, Labour this morning, I say appallingly because to me it's educational vandalism. The Labour Party, in proposals announced today, my friends, wants to suggest the decolonisation of books and texts in your kids' schools to boost diversity. They want to teach primary-age kids about climate change and fake news. Not a mention of maths or English or spelling or anything else. I'd love to know what you think about it. I just want to read this from Natasha on that subject. According to the Campaign for Real Education, Jez, it is statutory to teach Islam and West African history in the curriculum, but not English history. That is awful. We are betraying our children and their future. If you're a teacher, what do you make of it? If you are a parent, what do you make of it? 0344 499 1000. Yesterday, you'll have seen that appalling story of how the BBC had doctored Donald Trump's speech in the Capitol riots prior to that several years ago. New accusations today that they favoured Hamas. Do one call Hamas a terrorist organisation, always minimised Israeli suffering and did their best to paint Israel as the aggressor. I'm almost bored of saying this. Tim Davies should resign. The suggested increase in the licence fee is a disgrace. This is supposed to be our state broadcaster, the broadcaster that is supposed to provide unbiased news. It's not, is it? It's a biased, ideologically based, overstaffed waste of space. What do you make of that? Love your thoughts on it. 0344. Come and defend the BBC. I like an argument on a Wednesday. 0344 499 1000, and perhaps even shocking more than anything else this morning. A report by the former John Lewis boss, Sir Charlie Mayfield, says that Sick Note Britain is costing, ready for this, £200 billion a year. This is a country that is just in such debt, OK? And more frighteningly of anything, right, is that for people who go, what are you saying, that you can't be off sick? No, I'm not. For people who are genuinely sick, I'm happy to go to work at 2:30 in the morning. What I'm not is when I discover that half of young people are not working because they've got anxiety and bad nerves. Bless, it must be so hard, mustn't it, Jane?
Morning, JK. Sick Note Britain. Oh my God, don't get me started. I was sat in a pub in Exeter and I was earwigging into a group of girls who were sat in the pub at 10 o'clock at night, all with pints of beer around them, deciding whether their anxiety would be too much to go to university the next day. Not even work, university. God help us all.
And I think a lot of people will share what Jane and I think. I'd love to hear from you this morning. Are we being too harsh? How can we be harsh? I mean, we're saying to our kids now, we're going to teach you about stuff that's not really relevant or is but ideologically based. And we're also saying to them, by the way, you know, when you get to that age when it's OK to go to work and graft and work your way up and, be criticised and fail and start again. No, that's far too much. That's far too stressful. I just worry we're going to have a soft-bellied, entitled bunch of I don't know what's frightening. 0344 499 1000. Jez, I've got two boys, 7 and 9. I'm worried sick at what they're being taught, says Michael. Paul in Crewe. Jez, anxiety and emotional needs are through the roof in schools. Pupils are not being taught resilience, good word. Parents are big on making excuses and enabling their kids' behaviour, and it's not a surprise to hear that more and more of them are on the sick for this. I've been a teacher for 15 years, and the current approach is creating, in my opinion, entitled, low-resilient pupils who do not want to compete but expect a decent wage and decent working conditions to be put on a bloody plate for them. Could not agree more. 7 minutes past 7, Wednesday morning, the day 12 months ago that Donald Trump won a second term. Loads about him on the show this morning. But first of all, a man who, was in Parliament for 30 years, who reached the high echelons of office, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons, and is now into about his third year of writing his book, and he travels across the world to exotic locations. Where will we find Nigel Evans on a Wednesday morning?
Good morning, Jeremy. I'm in Hiawatha in Cheshire.
It's everywhere. The man's got properties everywhere. Good morning, Nigel. Lovely to have you on. Welcome to...
Hey, my name's Nigel Evans, not Rachel Reid.
Hey, well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, we can talk about that. The day that Donald Trump won a second term a year ago, my friend, today.
Yeah, and congratulations to him. He's really turning America around and making a lot of people in America proud, and he's even, dragging world leaders to the other parts of the earth just to have photo opportunities with him, when a few years ago they were rubbishing him as being irrelevant. And I just think he's done a tremendous job for the United States of America. I just wish that he was in charge of Britain.
Well, let's talk about the job that's just taking place. And you, again, like Matt Vickers, very, very interesting that you're honest about the abject failures of the last 14 years that have allowed this lot to be in power. Let's start with the, I think, astonishingly bad news this morning. They're accused of educational vandalism, the Labour Party. Their new plans, they're going to tear up the national curriculum. Proposals today will see I don't even know what the hell this means, Nige. Decolonisation of books and texts to boost diversity. They're going to teach primary children about Net Stupid Zero and how to deal with fake news. You were an MP for 30 years. This is barking mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is barking mad, and one of the best education ministers we ever had was Nick Gibb, and he's already rubbished what the government's about to do. I just want kids to be able to spell diversity, not learn about it. They'll learn enough in the real world when they get out there, but I want them to be able to spell. I want them to be able to do maths. If they want to earn a ton of money, if there's any youngsters listening to the programme this morning, just do maths. Because coding and artificial intelligence is where it's all happening.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to make the money, not by doing, dare I say it, Jeremy, media studies. I don't know if you did media studies to get where you are.
Certainly not. I didn't do media studies. I never did. No, but it's true. I don't understand that. I don't understand the ideology behind this. Why is the Labour Party intent on dumbing down the education? I've long argued, we've had the conversation before that education should be more practical. But this is, what about the 3 R's? What about maths and English? What is wrong with people?
Yeah, maths and English is where it's at, and history as well. Learning, not this thing about decolonising. I think we should be teaching people about the history of the United Kingdom, and yes, there are things like slavery where clearly we got it wrong, but we are talking about a different generation, and I think that is important. So it's basically, I guess, what they're about to do in educational terms is what some people have done in the past, which is tear down statues rather than learning about what the people did in the past to have a statue put up for them in the first place. So I think it is educational vandalism, and the kids are going to be all the poorer for it. And don't forget, we are competing against, I guess if you're growing up in Britain, right, you're competing against kids from other countries where hopefully this educational vandalism isn't happening, but also kids here are going to be competing against kids from whose parents have sent them to private schools where this educational vandalism won't be happening, where they will be learning reading, writing and arithmetic, where they will be being tested to the very highest levels, and they're the ones who are going to succeed. So just because you're going to get an easy ride between the ages of 5 and 18 at school means that you're going to get a rougher ride from 19 onwards. So I think we just need to wake up. We need to instill in our youngsters the real disciplines that education can give them, which is going to provide them with huge rewards later on.
I find it interesting. We took a text earlier. If you Google the 3 R's, how did you just repeat what you just said? What are the 3 R's?
Reading, writing and arithmetic.
If you Google it nowadays, it's resend, reuse and recycle, and you think I'm joking, don't you? It is, to me, we're laughing, but it's appalling. Now, I will prove to you, ladies and gentlemen, that Nigel Evans had a very good education, was an MP for 30 years, was the Deputy Speaker and might never speak to me again. Little test for you. Everybody's going to do it this morning. You didn't know about this. What are 9/8?
76.
No, 72. I cannot believe you've got that wrong. That's terrible,
it's
Evans.
7, Jeremy.
Doesn't matter. You can't. Oh my God! Right, how do you spell curriculum?
I used to work in a shop, you know, and my grandfather started it in 1932, we started without a till, you know. We had a bit of paper and a pen.
Well, I bet you gave away more than you actually took if your maths was like that, mate. How do you spell?
No wonder my father made no money.
Yeah. How do you spell curriculum, Nigel Evans? Come on.
Oh, CURRICULUM.
Oh, that's good. 1 out of 2. We'll give you that. Let's move on to that appalling story yesterday about the BBC. Did you see that Dr. Trump speech? Did you see it?
Yes.
For people who are tuning in, I do want to play it again because the BBC is under pressure today. There's new accusations about the coverage of the Israeli-Hamas conflict, and there's accusations that they've minimised Israeli suffering. The BBC still refusing to call Hamas a terrorist organisation. This is yet another example of how our state broadcaster is a biased, ideologically based, left-wing, bloated waste of space. This was yesterday. For anybody who missed it, firstly, you'll see what Panorama, one of their main news stations, shows, put out about Donald Trump over the Capitol riots. And then you'll see what he actually said. It's unbelievable. Play it, please, Marky.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. And we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Nigel Evans, being serious for a moment, what on earth needs to be done about the BBC? Because I think they are well past their sell date, genuinely.
No, I agree, actually, and I very rarely, and I mean rarely, watch the BBC, and I haven't done so for 10 years, because I've always seen it as biased, but never more so than when it is engineered in the way that it is. There are two sorts of biasness. There's the bias where you think, well, actually, the interviewer is clearly coming from a certain political mindset.
Yeah.
When you actually start splicing videos to say something completely different, indeed the opposite to what somebody intended to say, I think that is sinister. A fish rots from the head down, and Tim Davie has to go. It's absolutely no two ways about it. Tim Davie has got to take responsibility for this. So you've got the Donald Trump stuff, and now you've got the report saying that they are basically anti-Israel, and in the reporting that they are doing on the BBC Foreign Service is absolutely appalling. I was thinking actually yesterday about the Donald Trump story, and Tim Davie is absolutely silent. I've been looking to see what he's been saying, and he's absolutely been saying...
Well, think about the Bob Villan guy at Glastonbury. He was there. He allowed that to be streamed for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Blatant anti-Semitism. I don't know how Tim Davie survives. I don't know why the government or somebody in authority is not calling for his immediate resignation.
We're all about to pay a ton more money in the licence because this government is now deciding, even though, and it's absolutely provable, that fewer and fewer people in this country are watching the BBC. They're getting their entertainment from Netflix or from Amazon. They are going on YouTube. They are looking at your channel. They are looking at GB News. They're looking at a variety of sources. And the BBC is diminishing every year. And yet we're all being forced to pay more money for it.
I've never believed, Nigel. I've never believed in the environment that we are in and how terrestrial television and every single part of broadcasting and media has changed, how the BBC has the gall, to not be a subscription-based organisation. If it is about quality, if it is about not even quality, if it's about what you're offering, then you get judged by the people who want to be involved in that. They have sat there for years and taken the money. But what's even worse than that, because politicians seemingly don't want to do anything about it, what's worse is they are absolutely ideologically based, and without being conspiratorial again. When you look at what we've talked about in terms of education, what's being pushed on our kids, what's being pushed on us by our state broadcaster, disgusting.
Yeah, and whilst the licence fee continues, they're going to continue in the same vein as they always have done over the decades. times have moved on. I mean, I mentioned a number of sources where people are getting their news. A lot of youngsters are getting their news from Instagram and TikTok. The bleeding reality is what it is. And so for us to continue to supporting a fossilized system, which has now been proven to be completely biased by engineering, I think is, listen, I don't want my money to go to this organisation, full stop.
Couldn't agree more. Very quickly, you've been great. Sick note Britain is costing $200 billion a year. John Lewis, ex-boss Charlie Mayfield, says in a report, half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. What message does that send? 30 seconds, Nige.
Yeah, £212 billion. If Rachel Reeves is looking to fill that black hole, she needs to tell the GPs to stop issuing these amazing number of sick notes to young people, tell them to get off their backsides and get to work.
Do you know, just very quickly, Susan said yesterday, after Rachel Reeves' awful waffle bomb speech, £22 billion was wiped off the stock market as the pound plummeted. She can't last, can she, Nige?
No, she, for a number of reasons, and the property licence fiasco is just one of them. I don't trust a word she says. Her last budget was a fiasco. This one's going to be a fiasco as well. There must be 13 million pensioners out there, Jeremy, not looking forward to November the 26th, because she is going to raid their pensions. She is going to punish people who have been working all their lives. We've been talking about a ton of people who haven't got off their backsides. There are pensioners out there who are going to get an absolute roasting because she can't manage Britain's budget.
Couldn't sum it up better. We love having you on, Nigel. Good luck with the book. Nigel Evans, former Deputy Speaker of the House of Commons. It's 7:20. We're live across the UK with Morning Glory. If you'd like to be on, 0344 499 1000. The number, you can send a voice note, and also you can send your text throughout the show on 87222. Dan is pretty miffed about the education system in this country. Morning, Dan.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's Dan from Kent. You're talking about education this morning. Made me think, this Labour government, perhaps as a country, we've got to educate ourselves. We've got to go on this journey and think, never again. We can't have this again. The same with DEI, woke, net zero. We've got to go on this journey to experience it, educate ourselves, to say, no, this is the wrong path. That's my thoughts anyway. Great show.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Wednesday the 5th of November, you were Morning Glory. Welcome to the home of free speech, even in common sense. 0344 499 1000. We are talking the main news stories today. Labour accused of educational vandalism. Apparently they want to tear up the national curriculum and do things like decolonise books and texts, whatever the hell that means. They want to teach your kids about climate change and how to spot fake news. This is put together brilliantly, this show. We move from that phrase to the fact that the BBC is accused of yet more fake news today. You might have seen that terrible job they did on that Trump speech yesterday. They doctored that to their own ends. Today they're accused of minimising Israeli suffering and painting Israel as the aggressor in the war against Hamas. And there are mass calls today for Tim David, the Director General, to finally resign. I mean, he didn't resign over Bob Villan at Glastonbury. This man has got more lives than a cat that's got more lives. I don't understand how this man survives. 0344 499 1000. And that shocking news that Sick Note Britain is costing, yes, us all, 200 billion. We've got a government who keep talking about a £22 billion black hole, right? And then we've got 200 billion being given to people. And this was a survey by former John Lewis boss Sir Charlie Mayfield that said that half of kids who don't work, teenagers, because they're stressed and full of anxiety. That's why this country's on its backside. Just very quickly, Margaret in Birmingham, this school rubbish. Parents are guardians of their kids. They have parental rights, and yet parents have no say at all in what is being taught. In the 50s, she said, we had none of this woke crap. Good morning, Jez, says Ian. Regarding the school curriculum changing for our kids, if we are going to teach children about disinformation, maybe start with political manifestos. And this is really interesting. John, he says, I've many grandchildren. 4 of them have been taken out of school and home-schooled. I think that's going to be an increasing number. We'd love to hear from you on that. Now, yesterday was 20 minutes of just after 8 o'clock of Rachel Reeves delivering quite simply one of the most boring yet shocking speeches ever known. She's set to hit the middle classes on the 26th of November with a £60 billion tax bomb to cover up gaps, she says, because of the last administration. Many of us are saying it's because you keep giving your union mates big pay rises and giving away the Chagos Islands and giving the Mauritian people 16 billion quid. Before we speak to our next guest, Andrew Griffith, the Shadow Business and Trade Secretary, about his thoughts, these are 2 videos. First of all, this is Rachel's previous tax promises. Have a listen.
The Conservatives are now the party of high tax. On their watch, the tax burden is the highest in 70 years. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics. I know what it takes to run a successful economy. I believe in sound money and in public spending that's kept under control. I did not come into politics to raise taxes on working people. So my promise to you is this. Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT.
No income tax, no VAT, no... Oh, yes, sorry, you lied. This was yesterday.
I will make the choices necessary to deliver strong foundations for our economy. My budget, led by this government's values of fairness and opportunity, and focused entirely on the priorities of the British people, protecting our NHS, reducing our national debt, and improving the cost of living.
I'm smiling because Christian, the producer of Morning Glory, has just delivered a fantastic line. Do we believe that there's any part of Rachel Reeves' husband who's now actually doubting what she said in her wedding vows and whether she was telling the truth? We say a very good morning to Andrew Griffith, Shadow Business and Trade Secretary. Andrew, good morning. Welcome to Talk. How are you?
Good morning. Always good to be here at the home of common sense.
Fantastic. Look at you in your autumnal. Look at the leaves on the floor and you're that hard you haven't got a coat on. Can I please get straight to Rachel Reeves, because it was almost with an open mouth I watched that waffle bomb, as your leader Kemi Badenoch described it yesterday. But in essence, the truth is, and we saw it there in those clips, that this is a party that promised so much, have lied about so much, but this tax burden, it's not just about the rich. This is further and deeper. And surely Andrew points to a complete inability to run an economy. The lady is out of her depth, isn't she?
She's more out of depth than that Titanic, homemade submarine. I mean, her credibility is absolutely shot through. You don't lie to the British people in the way that this government has done. If she comes back and puts up taxes, I'd argue she already did that a year ago anyway, when she introduced a £25 billion tax on working people through national insurance. And the truth of the matter is, the reason we're even having this conversation is because she can't control public spending. She gave £70 billion more to an unreformed public sector, tried belatedly to do a modest amount of welfare reform. We've heard this morning about a £200 billion potential extra cost or opportunity if you can get more people off welfare and back into work. But even when she tried a slither of that, her party wouldn't let her. She hasn't got a grip, the Prime Minister hasn't got a grip, and everybody in this country is paying the price.
I've always been honest with Tory politicians who are good enough to come on, and I've had Matt Vickers on already this morning. It must be quite upsetting to know that the problems that the Tories had in the last few years, the several leaders, the stuff that didn't happen, the general chaos that sort of epitomised your party and led to, I think, the British public stopping to listen to anything you said, allowed this shower to get into power. I'm not a fan of his, but Rishi Sunak was absolutely right in everything he said about the tax implications of Labour. And I repeat this every morning, Andrew. I'm old enough. I remember the last Labour government, and there is absolutely, the 70s, there is no doubt they promise everything to everybody. They spend more than they earn, and they end up cap in hand to the IMF, and the country will be broke. As a Tory, you must rue the mistakes your party made to have allowed this to happen, sir.
Yes, I agree with that. And it's a great shame that, as a result, we've got this terrible, terrible government. They've come in, they've broken promises. It's the most hard-left socialist government of my lifetime, like you. I just caught the tail end of the 70s and 80s and the damage. And now everybody under the age of 50 who'd never seen, although some of us try to warn people, they'd never seen what a socialist government in thrall to the trade unions, unable to do anything other than pour more money into an unreformed public sector, the damage it's doing to our country. People are leaving our country. Brain drains are back. People are giving up businesses because of the family business death tax. Day after day, we're seeing what applied hard-left socialism looks like on our streets and the damage being done to our economy.
That was the financial side. I'd love your response if you're OK with the other things that we're talking about on the show this morning, the main news stories, starting with Labour accused of educational vandalism this morning. I believe that Bridget Phillipson's one of the most frightening people ever. Proposals announced today. Let's forget maths and English. Decolonisation of books and texts to help boost diversity. And apparently they want to teach primary school children, my Oliver, my Iris, about climate change and how to spot fake news. This is ludicrous, Andrew, isn't it?
It is ludicrous, and it is part of that hard left agenda on education, dumbing down exams, attacking independent schools, reducing the thresholds of independent Ofsted inspections, and now putting climate change and woke causes on the curriculum. Where will they stop? I want the schools to be teaching maths and English if they've got extra time. Let's teach financial literacy. Let's get our young people engaged in artificial intelligence, the things that are going to give them jobs for the future. If today's Labour's unemployment bill, 330 pages, 120,000 words of red tape, won't stop any business ever hiring again.
Also interested, you're part of the front bench, and Kemi Badenoch seems to have stepped up a stage or two. I think she needed to in the last few weeks. What's your party, your front bench's opinions of the BBC? I've done this for a while, and I mean, yesterday, I don't know if you've seen the footage of how they doctored Donald Trump's speech over the Capitol Hill's riots, and today they're under more pressure about their coverage of the Israeli-Hamas war. They still refuse to call Hamas terrorists. They apparently, well, they allowed Bob Villan to call the IDF anti-Semitic language, and they allowed that to go for hours and hours. On the one hand, you've got people saying, you know, they want to raise the licence fee, and the BBC does great thing, but a majority, I think, of people are now saying that this state broadcaster is a disgrace. It's got its own agenda, its own ideology, and is frankly not fit for purpose. And my question this morning is, why hasn't anybody done anything about the BBC at this point? Because I think they're out of touch, don't you?
I think the British people are rapidly getting to the end of their tether with our state broadcaster. Now, I don't want to damn every BBC journalist or everyone in the media with the same brush. Michael Prescott is a very respected, independent journalist, follows stories without fear or favour, and what he has revealed, which I would argue should be in the public domain anyway from a national broadcaster. They should be publishing these reports, not having to rely on them being leaked or put into the public domain, is of grave concern. So I think we need to get to the bottom of it. I do think that politicians should stand up to the BBC. If we're going to have a national broadcaster, if we're going to extract money on pain of putting people in jail to pay a compulsory mandatory licence fee, then that BBC absolutely has to be above and beyond rebuke. And clearly these are very, very concerning allegations. I haven't seen the video. I've read reports about the splicing that took place that created that misleading impression. And it all goes to what many people think is a wider malaise.
I could not agree with anybody any more than what you just said. Just have you got one more minute? I know you're a very busy man. You need to get a leaf blower, by the way, before you come on again. I think the grass looks like it needs doing.
It's lovely and autumnal here, actually.
Need a leaf blower. One of the things, because I'm getting old and cranky, when I read this morning, Sir Charlie Mayfield, former John Lewis boss, has done a sick note report. 200 billion quid. We've got this government bleating on the whole time about how much it all costs. Half of young people are not working, Andrew, because of anxiety and bad nerves. I'm not a politician, you are, and people seem to tread carefully. Why on earth are we creating an entitled generation? Anxiety, failure, being told off, it's part of bloody life, isn't it?
Yeah, look, there's a bit of that. Maybe it starts with the fact that people are being taught about climate change in a way that makes them feel despondent about life when society over time has overcome so many challenges. There are so many wonderful opportunities, science, discoveries, great new jobs and opportunities for people, and perhaps we're not teaching our young people to be optimistic enough to give them that mental resilience. So again, I'm not damning people. There is a spectrum. Some people have real challenges, but for many, many more people than is currently the case, the best place, even if you've got a little bit of mental health challenges, is to be around other people, to be in a supportive workplace. But to do that, you've got to support employers. And at the moment, this government, with its unemployment rights bill, we'll be discussing it in Parliament today, is absolutely coshing the very employers that we want to incentivise to give young people opportunities. I'm really worried about generation jobless, so many young people simply finding it hard to get work. And if there aren't those opportunities, of course they're going to be despondent. It is demoralising to apply again and again and again not hear back, not get job offers, you know, of course we've got a problem, but that's because this government is not growing the economy. They're not the first, to be fair to them, but they absolutely are not getting to grips with the challenges of growing the economy, providing those jobs and giving people hope and optimism about the wonderful future they can have in this country.
You've achieved something in the last 10 minutes, sir. I don't know whether this will matter to you or not, that not many people have in the last 3 years. You're a Tory MP, and I agree with absolutely everything you've said. Thank you so much indeed. I genuinely appreciate you coming on. Andrew Griffiths, Shadow Business and Trade Secretary. And I'm always very honest. Listen, I told people I voted Tory all my life and I voted Reform, and I believe that what Nigel Farage is saying and doing is absolutely spot on. That sounded fresh and new to me. That sounded like a Tory MP who believes in what he says. Interesting man, Andrew Griffiths. 7:35, or even 7:38. What's happening, Jess? 0344 499 1000. We want your involvement. Before the 8 o'clock news, Jonathan Sakadoki, I can never say this man's name, Saradotti, writer and broadcaster, is going to talk about BBC Bias. We're going to go to the break with a voice note. I'm not sure if Gaz is very keen on Rachel Reeves. Morning, Gaz.
Morning, Jez, mate. Great show, Gus from Pontefract. Rachel Reeves is my name. Screwing the country is my game. I fiddle the books to hide my mistakes. Check my CVs, all of them fakes. Tax, 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 thank you, I'll take it. I'll make you a promise and then I'll break it. I don't care if you get scurvy or rickets, as long as I still get my free concert tickets. I do have O-level in home economics, but everything else is a load of old rubbish.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Morning Glory is on, the home of free speech and common sense. Talk at 20 minutes to 8, Wednesday the 5th of November. Guy Fawkes night, bonfire night. If you are going, be safe, kids. Did that sound genuine? I'm going on Friday, a school one, because I can't be asked to light anything myself. What was the other thing? Oh, it was a year ago today that Donald Trump was elected for his second term. Some stuff about him throughout the morning. Loads of you texting. Thank you, Alan Hanratty. I hope I've got that right. Talk and even most newspapers covered the BBC's outrageous Panorama scandal yesterday, but as I noted, there was nothing reported, here's a surprise, on the BBC, ITV, Channel 4 or Sky exposes how closed shop and politically aligned they are. I think they're dangerous. Johnny, re-education. Jez, this is child abuse. The veil, if ever there was one, is off. Phillips and O'Reilly are Marxists, and as Marxists they want to destroy and wipe away all that went before and create robots, kids, who will conform to their pernicious and bankrupt ideology. Great show for a 60-year-old. Keep taking the Synatogen. Cheeky gitter, don't take Synatogen. Net, we'd be better off homeschooling our kids. Chandra's in Harrow. Good morning, Chandra. Jeremy, you talk about this taking sick off work. I was talking to my friends' kids aged 24 and 25. They actively count the paid sick days that their firm offers them and believe it's entitled holiday. One of them got 30 days paid sick per year, and he said we just add that to our annual leave, otherwise there's no point in taking the job. Oh, Jesus, I can't remember the last day I took off sick other than being in hospital for an operation, and I'm 46 years of age and I've worked all my life. The culture and thoughts that these people have are beyond me. And in my mind, says Chandra in Harrow, it's getting worse and worse every day. What an absolutely brilliant / horrifying example that is. I'm only going to take a job if I look at a contract and it offers me a certain amount of sick days. What do you make of that? 0344 499 1000. Yesterday we showed you how the BBC had, well, just ripped apart to its own ends a Donald Trump speech about the Capitol riots. Today they face new accusations of minimising Israeli suffering in its coverage of the war with Hamas, painting Israel as the aggressor, and Tim Davie and his ilk still refusing to call Hamas a terrorist organisation. I think most people who know me know how supportive I have been and will continue to be of the Jewish community. And Jonathan Saccadotti, I got wrong. Jonathan, good morning. You can't, I know I can't do it. How are you, mate?
Good morning. That's all right. It's all right. It's Saccadotti.
Whatever it is, you and I know you so well.
I answer to all variations. It doesn't bother me.
I love having you on, and you know exactly where I come from on this. I've talked repeatedly about any form of racism is abhorrent, but the fact that the Jewish community and anti-Semitism doesn't even seem to get a looking compared to other things is, in my mind, a disgrace. And another example, my friend this morning with the BBC.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the BBC is a great idea, but I think it's a massive failure in all the places where it counts. And what do I mean by that? It's got this lack of commercial pressure that other broadcasters have to struggle with. So it doesn't have to compete for advertisers for its money. It's given this money. It's basically a poll tax. Anyone that owns a television or watches the iPlayer has to pay it under the threat of criminal prosecution. And so it doesn't need to do things that bow down to the angry mob, to the woke crowd that take to the streets, whether they're the Free Palestine Brigade or whether they're the anti-Trump, the Trump derangement syndrome people. The BBC actually has this kind of independent financial backing that means it could actually just tell the truth. So that's why it's enormously disappointing when we find out it's been doing this warped coverage of Donald Trump, it's been doing this warped coverage of Israel, and this leaked report shows that they knew about it internally all this time. None of this, of course, is news to me. As you know, you and I have talked about this before. I've been covering this for years. I mean, back in 2021, I wrote a big report where I'd investigated BBC Arabic failings, which is now one of the headline failings that this report has highlighted. And I know the BBC knew about it because I went to them every single time as a responsible journalist and put to them all the findings that I had. I worked with an organisation called Camera Arabic, which forensically goes through what they do. And every single time, the response is the same. It's, no, you're wrong. Then when you really push them, they go, you're right, but it's not a systemic problem. And then they correct it really quietly, very long after the event. And really the only people who would get the corrected version of the news are those who have the weird fetish of reading the BBC's corrections page buried away somewhere on their website. So that's not really a news service. That's a propaganda service that is deliberately, if you ask me, in my opinion, constantly covering its tracks, but constantly putting forward a hard leftist agitprop version of the news, whether it's being pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, anti-Trump, anti-Brexit, whatever it is, the BBC always has its own agenda.
And isn't that frightening when you think about it? I mean, we get so well put, so eloquent, but state broadcaster, unbiased, straight down the line, unbiased broadcaster absolutely fundamentally doesn't fulfil that criteria. We all know Bob Villan at Glastonbury. Tim Davie was there for 5 hours death to the IDF, blatant anti-Semitism, played for 5 hours on, streamed, I think, or played on iPlayer or whatever. Disgusting. The man survives. A refusal to call Hamas terrorists. The man survives. Yesterday's example, doctoring a speech of Trump's that was 52 minutes apart to push an agenda, as you quite rightly say. What needs to be done, Jonathan? Because I don't see governments taking the BBC. I always believe very quickly that it's almost as if people believe that, or people in power think that the BBC is on some pedestal like the NHS, and you can't dare criticise something, but it is flawed, isn't it, my friend? Flawed.
Well, it really shouldn't be, and I think more and more people actually are laughing at it. I think, you know, it's in a column I wrote, I actually said it's a bit like Meghan and Harry. It thinks it's still this sort of great British establishment, royalty in their case, this esteemed broadcasting corporation, but in actual fact, it's a laughingstock around the world, and people are constantly agog at the way it's embarrassing itself with thing after thing like this. I mean, the Hamas documentary, they paid a Hamas minister's family so that they could have his son present a documentary on the BBC. And you mentioned the Trump thing with the footage. That's not the first time they did it. They did it in that Hamas propaganda documentary. Yeah. I covered that they actually took footage of another child, not that one, a little kid called Zakaria, who they said was a paramedic. It was a child. And they showed this section under a caption which indicated it was all filmed on one day. It clearly wasn't. His hair length changed 2 or 3 times. His shoes changed. But they did try to mislead us by making his T-shirt and other clothes stay the same. And so they made up this narrative which wasn't continuous, as they seem to suggest in the documentary. And in their own report on that, they acknowledged that this had happened and then said there was no attempt to deceive, that it was all on one day. They did it before that years ago, if you remember, with that documentary about Her Late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. They made this trailer where they showed her storming out of a photo shoot with the photographer Annie Leibovitz having a tantrum.
It cost Peter Fincham his job, didn't it? I remember that.
Exactly. It's not enough to cost people their jobs. I think, I'm really sorry to say it, I don't want to sound extreme here. The thing's had its day. It was a nice idea, but these days we don't need it. Everything it does is offered elsewhere commercially, and that's great. It means that it's done its job, unless they can absolutely tip it upside down, you know, shake it out till all the activists and the hard leftists and the anti-Semites and the anti-Israel activists and the anti-Trump people just fall out. They can staff it again with honest reporters. There are loads of them. I could give them the numbers of some good people, and then they could start to make news, which, you know what, probably won't rate as well, because there may be mobs that try to boycott it and stop people watching it. But actually, I think most people would find it so refreshing to have a news channel that presents things really honestly as they are, and documentaries and all sorts of other programming, and can show things as they are, but without having to be all whistles and bells and glamour and Strictly Come Dancing and all that stuff, because they don't need to do that. We've got that elsewhere. They need to do the stuff that isn't commercially viable, but is absolutely accurate and truthful and responsible. But I don't see anyone, not a single person at the BBC who stands up for that, and that's why I think they should just shut it down, personally.
Brilliant. Honestly, you're as erudite as the best of them. I really appreciate it. Jonathan Saccardotti. Brilliant. Honestly, brilliant writer and broadcaster. We so appreciate him being on the show. It's 10 to 8, 0344 499 1000. Morning Glory on until 10. To the latest ad break, Mike from Liverpool. Morning, Mikey.
Cheers, Mike from Liverpool. Here's what's shocking. I've just witnessed on Great Ormond Street, Liverpool, there's a shopping complex. I've just witnessed a homeless guy ready to go begging at the McDonald's, getting out of an Uber.
Big news coming this December. Our Talk TV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the Talk TV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory, JK till 10. So this government want to vandalise your kids' national curriculum education by introducing the decolonization of books and texts and teaching them about climate change and fake news. They won't do anything about the BBC, who are biased against anybody like Trump or, you know, Israel, or they won't do anything about a sick note Britain where teenagers, lots of youngsters, half of them don't work because they're full of anxiety. But they will keep pushing net stupid zero. This is a story this morning. Britain's coastal towns face widespread disruption, I live here, after the UK's grid operator unveiled plans to triple offshore wind capacity as part of Mad Ed Miliband's Green Building Blitz. So we face the horror of more of those bloody white things that go round and round. And the reason I'm saying it's a horror is, unless I'm missing the point, just a week ago, Ed Miliband himself admitted that wind power is less reliable than he or his advisers expected. Maurice Cousins is campaign director for Net Zero Watch. Miliband's a nutter, isn't he?
Afraid he is, yes, and we're saddled with him until the next election.
I think we talked on another show, and you told me something that stayed in my head, which is they came in saying they were going to, decrease electricity bills. They want to achieve this, net zero rubbish, and nobody knows why, because what happens when you get there? And whilst they're doing it, this whole wind farm thing, it doesn't blow enough to give us enough, so they end up importing electricity, which costs more than the stuff we've got here. And then even more shocking is when it blows too much, they aren't able to store it or turn the things off, because that costs even more than keeping it on. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's an inferior form of power production. It's just that simple. We're regressing. This is not progress. We're moving backwards. Yeah, most of these technologies, they have their origins in the pre-industrial period, and yet we're embracing them as a way to run a modern industrial economy. It is utter madness, utter madness. And the reason you need all this infrastructure, Jeremy, there are physical thermodynamic reasons as to why we need it, and the reason why is because these technologies are low density, so the amount of power that you can extract from any one given area is much lower than what you can generate with thermal-based systems like gas and coal. Now, I know that's a bit sort of technical, but it's important for viewers and listeners to understand, because that's why this is needed. You need all of this vast amounts of infrastructure because you need many more turbines and panels and all of that sort of stuff in order to be able to get the useful amount of power that you need to run an economy. And what we're looking at is we're going to need probably twice the capacity of generation, twice the grid capacity, and this is the kicker, to produce the same amount of output that you would get from our current existing system. It is nuts. It is crazy. So it's more for less.
And this sort of dying on this altar again. This morning we've talked about what they want to do to the national curriculum, what they won't do to the BBC, what they won't do, this Labour Party, about sick note Britain. They follow this ideology. And of course the critics of you and me will say, well, look at Melissa in Jamaica and the world's about to end. Well, they told me that in 1976, and I'm not being irresponsible when I say that. I'm sure there are issues about the climate that are important, but I'm about priority. And I cannot understand a country that is literally not able to afford the interest on its debts when we've got oil and gas under the sea. And I don't mean to sound like Trump. If somebody said to me, there's an asset under the sea that will get rid of all of the debt, will make people's bills cheaper, I'd start drilling. I don't understand it. It's madness, man.
It is madness. I mean, you say it's ideological. I mean, I think it's worse than that. I think it is delusional because, you know, ideology suggests you're going to get to some place of utopia, but that's not where we're heading. You know, and they can't claim that they haven't been warned here about what is going to happen. You know, this is for a number of years now, leading experts have been explaining to people that if you build a weather-based power generation system, that will lead to higher costs, less security, industrialization of our landscape, all of these downsides. And yet they've been swept aside, and the only thing that we sort of seem to focus on is this one metric, which is that supposedly it's cleaner, ignoring the fact, of course, that a lot of this kit is manufactured and produced in China, where they are using coal to be able to manufacture this stuff. But Jeremy, there's one thing I want to be able to sort of just to point out here.
30 seconds, not being rude. 30 seconds, go.
No worries. Is that Desnes are talking about this as being an upgrade of the system. This is cynical framing. It is wrong. This is not an upgrade. It's a false premise. This is completely and utterly unavoidable. What we are doing here is we are moving to a more expensive, more disruptive, and more intrusive system. If anyone thinks that is an upgrade, they need their head examining.
Couldn't agree more. Great man. Morris Cousins, thank you very much to you. Campaign Director, Net Zero Watch. We've had loads and loads of response for Net Zero. No, I'm lying, we haven't. Esther McVeigh, former Minister for Common Sense. She fits in nicely. After the news at 8, we'll talk the BBC, we'll talk Sick Note Britain, and we will talk educational vandalism. 0344 499 1000. You can call us if you want to be on. We'll do the news at 8, which is next on Morning Glory on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Good morning, my friends. Welcome along. It is Wednesday, the 5th of November. Guy Fawkes night, bonfire night. Be safe out there, kids. And, of course, 12 months ago, the Donald inaugurated, no, but he won the election for the second time to be the 47th President of the United States. And loads about him in the next 2 hours. Did I hear that right in the news? Drinking beer can make you go bald. That's why Mrs. Kyle hasn't got much hair. A group from the university, I don't know, compared growth, hair density, thickness and shine. It worries me, right, when you're at university and we spend money on things like that. Just study. Loads to talk about this morning. Please be involved on the show. Your involvement is always welcome. Text us on 87222. Start your message with the word talk. And call us or leave a voice note. 0344 499 1000. On the day that Labour is accused, quite rightly, of the educational vandalism. You know, the national curriculum, you know, maths and English. Nah, forget that. No. What Labour want to do is, and I don't understand this, I haven't for 2 hours, decolonise books and texts to help diversity. They're going to teach primary age kids like my Oliver about climate change. Brilliant. And how to spot fake news. What do you make of that? Call us, 0344. What a load of tripe. 0344 499 1000. The BBC in the firing line again this morning. You might have seen that video yesterday of doctoring that Trump speech about the Capitol Hill riots. Today they've been accused of minimising Israeli suffering and being pro-Hamas in that conflict. Director General Tim Davie, who's got more lives than about 9 cats put together, which would be 81 lives, he's still hanging on by his fingertips. Should he not go? It's an absolute disgrace. And if you are in a queue right now, if you sat there maybe in your car or you're already at work and you're thinking, God, I didn't get any sleep, I'm knackered. There's an answer. Sick Note Britain is costing us 200 billion quid. This is a survey by the former John Lewis boss to Charlie Mayfield, who says that half of young people are not working because they're stressed. Good. Hello to Jim. He says, I have a number of close friends and family who work for the NHS, many in the ambulance service, who take 6-month paid sick leave a year as they believe it's their entitlement. Oh, God. Tim's in London. I work in construction and have done for 30 years, Jez. Yesterday, an apprentice brickie said to me, I'm feeling stressed. Honestly, I can't do it. Steve, good morning. Not only is the Chancellor out of her depth, but so is the department that she notionally heads. You have to question the calibre, or even calibre, of her advisers and the civil service at the Treasury. Austerity is going to be back on the agenda. It will be the only way to drive growth. And I just think, I want to read this by Steve, not because he's 65, but because I think this will resonate with so many of you this morning. He says, I'm 65, Jez, staring retirement in the face. I currently do 50 to 60 hours a week, and frankly I work all hours, and I've done this since the age of 17. I have never ever taken a penny of welfare. Why? Because I assumed that would impact my retirement pot. Am I stupid? Because this government and the younger generation do not respect this, and essentially saying, yes mate, thanks for everything, we're not going to look after you, we're going to look after people who don't deserve it. You are a stupid man. And I think a lot of people would go, why am I? Why have I done everything correctly to be treated like this? Tell us what you think. 0344 499 1000. Talk, of course, is about common sense. And the only politician I know that ever held the role of Minister for Common Sense is next this morning. Esther, me old Mucka McVeigh. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. It was a nickname for Minister Without Portfolio in the Cabinet Office, which actually people like Mandelson held under Tony Blair. It's a post that's gone back for 100 years, but I like the name, the Minister of Common Sense, because that is what the country needs more than ever.
I'd like to suggest, and I'm not your PR expert, never associate yourself with Peter Mandelson. You're infinitely better than that lowlife.
I certainly wouldn't, and I've never done any of the things he's done, and I've never referred to Epstein as yum-yum or sent him letters or anything to do with that. And that's why he's no longer the ambassador to America. Shame on him. Yeah, yum-yum's a donut, Est. Now, listen, yesterday I lost 26 minutes of my life from 8:02 to 8:28. So did I.
When Rachel Reeves delivered the most boring / ridiculous / frightening speech ever. But I just want to play for everybody who's just tuning in. Previously, Rachel Reeves, apparently an economist, our Chancellor, said this about tax. Have a listen, peeps.
Conservatives are now the party of high tax. On their watch, the tax burden is the highest in 70 years. I worked as an economist at the Bank of England before entering politics. I know what it takes to run a successful economy. I believe in sound money and in public spending that's kept under control. I did not come into politics to raise taxes on working people. So my promise to you is this. Labour will not put up your income tax, national insurance or VAT.
Bear in mind that was 15 months ago. This was yesterday, peeps.
I will make the choices necessary to deliver strong foundations for our economy. My budget, led by this government's values of fairness and opportunity, and focused entirely on the priorities of the British people, protecting our NHS, reducing our national debt, and improving the cost of living.
Esther, on a serious note, this proves without doubt that the Labour Party are and always have been a one-trick pony, which is we will raise taxes to give our mates pay rises until we bankrupt this country, right?
Absolutely, and ever thus. I have to say, Rachel Reeves there looked like a broken woman.
Yep.
I think she is. She came into the job and it seemed to her that the only qualification she needed was the work she'd done, and then we saw it was, the work she'd done at the Bank of England, then we found out it was a fake CV. She banged on that she was the first woman to be the Chancellor. Not that she had to be a good Chancellor, not that she had to get, the economy going. And I just think she's completely out of her depth. And I think it's just dawned on her now she's out of her depth. And this ideology that she had has all now proved to be wrong. The fact that she thought you could tax jobs and we'd get more of them, doesn't know basic economics, tax anything and you actually get less of it. Mm-hmm. And since she's been in office, unemployment has gone up every month. Inflation is now more or less double since they came into power. Borrowing is going through the roof, as is debt. So everything she touched, everything she thought was the right thing to do has proved to be the wrong thing to do.
I agree with you about being out of her depth. And I think we talk about Starmer. They're I can't even say the word, inextricably linked, and I think that's the only reason that she survives. I mean, it's been called a waffle bomb, it's a tax warning. It's the old adage, though. If you promise everybody everything, when you have to actually start paying out, you end up in trouble. I mean, I said this an hour ago. If you come to power, if we'd come to power, right, and somebody said, Jez, we're 20 billion in debt, well, I'd have created a situation where I tried to get rid of that before I started again. But she gave 11 billion to the junior doctors who are back for more. She gave 16 billion to the Mauritian people and the Chagos Islands, which means they're not paying income tax for 12 months. And yet the British people, the silent majority, are struggling. And I just think she is totally incompetent, and I genuinely believe within months we'll be on our knees to the IMF, and it will be the same old Labour story, which is that inflation will be at ridiculous levels, unemployment, and the country will be broke. And I have to ask you, I know we're mates, exactly what I asked Matt Vickers earlier. It must stick in your craw to think that the mistakes that your party made, the chaos that symbolised the end, the fact the British people had stopped listening, has allowed this shower, Esther, to even be anywhere near government. Because that's how I feel about it.
Well, of course it upsets me that Labour got into office. I also wonder, when they were running for office, and I said this at the time, nobody ever asked Labour what they were going to do. It seemed it was good enough that it was just going to be changed. And the only thing that the media also wants to talk about was this supermajority, not how are you going to turn the economy around. Remember, we're still recovering.
Do you know what I think that was, though, with respect? Do you know why I think that was? I don't think anybody asked, because I think that everybody had stopped listening to the Tory party. And I think that was the danger, Esther. I think that the Tories could have, in the end, offered us anything. And most people would have gone, nah, listen, you've had 14 years and let us down. And that is the fear, because these people, the woman that planned the first 100 days was gone on day 93, Sue Gray, for God's sake.
Well, then, if it's a lesson going forward, and the Tory party has to take its responsibility in things, although, there was a whole host of things that had gone wrong. I don't think we'd ever thought, what a lockdown would do, what, furlough would cost. people not going to I think there was a whole host of things, the first war in Europe. But I think what we have to learn from this, at the next general election, the question has to be not pointing out what's wrong. We all know what's wrong, but how are you going to change that? And who is going to change that? And I think that needs to be key. And we're all going to have to ask those questions, because they got in, really. They did get a free pass, Labour getting into office, and we're now seeing what a disaster they are. And we're all suffering. You see, the problem is now we're all suffering. They are awful, yet we are all suffering.
Well, let's talk about the other. I mean, that's financially. I mean, Rachel Reeves incompetent at the best of it, and I agree with you. Today they've been accused of, this frightens me as a parent, educational vandalism. They plan to tear, and one of the good things the Tories did was education. They plan to tear up the national curriculum. Proposals announced today, will see the, I have no idea what this means, mate, decolonisation of books and texts to help push diversity. And they're going to teach my Oliver climate change and how to spot fake news. And when we Googled, and I'm not even joking, what are the 3 R's this morning? Reading, writing and arithmetic. Today on Google it says resend, reuse and recycle, and I'm not joking. That's what's happened to this country. Unbelievable.
You said, you know, vandalism. It is criminal what they're going to do. Now, I was taught as I was growing up, you know, knowledge is power. Do well at school and get your exams and you'll get a good job. You know, hard work never hurt anybody. But this was about social mobility. This was allowing people from all different backgrounds to actually compete with what would be the upper classes, the educated classes, the well-connected classes. What this Labour government is doing is taking the ladder away, I would say, from most people of a working class background, because you won't be able to compete with the Indias, the China, Indian kids, Chinese kids, those now of the emerging nations, because they do maths from morning to night, because they're looking at what are the jobs of the future. They are in school dusk to dawn.
But this is what I don't get, Esther. Maybe you can help me. You were the Minister of Common Sense. Why would you want to dumb down a future generation that learns, that has something to offer, makes your society successful, the next generation? Why would the Labour Party, in your mind, want to dumb down the next generation? I don't get it.
Well, it makes me cynical, because that means that they're either being indoctrinated with a left-wing ideology, which says this is what it is, this climate change, decolonisation, not being proud of your nation, being an internationalist rather than nationalist. So I think there's that. And then it's about control, because if we're all dumber, it makes them look brighter, but they are going to be in control. So I don't like this at all. I think, I've always thought, you need the building blocks so you can choose what's right or wrong. You need to know the facts, and you need to know them, you know, maths, science, whatever it is, English, languages. They're now allowing teachers to give their opinion, because this is untested theories, climate change, or we've also had it with gender, you know, again, you know, just, yes, they're untested theories. And also, I mean, I used to hate in school, there was one teacher who used to come in and talk, call me by my first name, and what we're going to do today is sit round and discuss what she wanted to discuss. And you know what? That was the class that most people got the worst grades in. So she didn't help us, you know, espousing her left-wing views.
And actually taking that point on to something very quickly, because I do want to talk to you about the BBC, but this report, this dumbing down of the younger generation, the report by Sir Charlie Mayfield, ex-John Lewis boss this morning, that says that we're spending $200 billion a year, $212 billion on sick note, basically. And before everybody jumps up and down and says there are people, yes, there are. There are. But frighteningly in this, and there are people who take advantage of this, and frighteningly in this report, we learned this morning, Esther, that half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the point. If you sit everybody cross-legged and try and teach them about climate change, and you don't teach them about the real world, where you have to start at the bottom, and you'll have knocks and you'll have bad days and you'll have good days, and you don't just give up and throw your hands in and go, oh, I'm mentally ill. Yes, there are people with mental illness before you all started me, and Esther would know that better than me. But but from her job in government. It has become... It was just a soft touch, man. What happened to aspiration? What happened to wanting to climb the ladder and achieve something? These politicians are dumbing down the whole thing, I think, for this generation. And I look at kids now, so many of them teenagers, and just think, you're entitled and you're lazy, and I'm really sorry, and I'm not sure it's your fault, but it's dreadful.
I think, people need to build resilience, and school is a wonderful place to learn resilience in a safe environment. So you know what? I didn't come top of this whatever exam, and you know what? I got a bad grade for my homework, and you know what? I didn't come first in the egg and spoon or the sack race or whatever it is, and that's fine. And then we have a laugh about it, and then if it's really important to you, you make sure next time you do come top, right? And it's a safe space to do that. Now, if you're not doing it there, you're going to make yourself very vulnerable later in life because you haven't had the knockbacks. But it's a bit like going to the gym. You do gentle weights at first, and then you go to the more complicated one. And that is life. Yeah. And I think we need to build that and put that in children, because I would say unhappy people, and I'd say there's a general malaise in this country at the moment. And that unhappiness, I've always been taught, has come from non-fulfillment, because you really deep down would love to be doing something. You never got the grades in school, and if they dumb down this curriculum, you're not going to get it. I really wanted to travel, but you know what, now I don't have the money because I'm on benefits rather than in a job. I'd love to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but you know what, because I'm sat in the living room watching the telly by myself, I now don't have the social, skills. I don't know, nights out girlfriends or what. I'm not meeting anybody. And this government is doing that, dumbing us down, isolating us, and filling this country with, everybody feels either sick to the back teeth or depressed. The sooner this lot are out, the better. I need joy. I need hard work. I need, I should say fun. I need to go out there competing and then feeling, good when I've achieved something.
I agree with you. I haven't got long, 30 seconds. I'm not going to play the clip. Yesterday, the BBC doctored a Trump clip about the Capitol riots. Absolutely outrageous. The BBC, the day they want to increase the licence fee, I don't know how Tim Davies survives. They've had the IDF chants by Bob Villan that streamed for 5 hours. The BBC today accused of minimising Israeli suffering, refusing to call Hamas terrorists. You were the Minister of Common Sense. Why doesn't some politician, as briefly as you can do this, do something about this outdated, ideologically based, woke organisation that are supposed to be our state broadcaster, and I think are as anti-British as this government increasingly, Esther?
Well, I think the only thing they could do now is get rid of the licence fee. If people want to watch it, they pay for it. If they think it's great value for money, if you want to listen to that, you do. But it would bring them into the real world where they'd understand they actually have to provide programmes for the whole nation, not their biased views. And now, actually, I think the words were, it was deep, pervasive bias and a chronicle failure to deal with it. Well, we don't want that. We don't want to be paying a tax to be given some sort of indoctrination or some lecture, and they hide behind the mask of impartiality. Well, they're not. So stand on your own 2 feet, BBC, and that would then, it would either shrink, because less people were watching it and listening to it, or it would grow and it would survive. So that's what I'd say in this day and age.
Couldn't agree with you more. So lovely to have you on. Please be on again. We love her. Esther McVeigh, former Minister for Common Sense and a Tory MB who does actually speak sense. Very quickly, where is it, Gwyn? Let's go to... I'm going to do a Welsh accent. Anne, good morning. How are you? Welcome to Morning Glory.
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you. Talking about going to work, I have 2 children who, at 15, wanted a job. And so they applied and got a job to work in a pub. And we said, look, treat it as your social life. And we've watched over the years youngsters going into these pubs, and they're a little bit shy, and you watch them mature into chatty young people who've got the gift of the gab, and it's lovely. But if you treat it as a social thing as well, meeting people, it's fine. But sadly, there are some people who think waitresses and people who work behind a bar maybe are slightly uneducated.
Well,
but we've got youngsters round here that go to university, come home at weekends, go and work in the pub.
My daughter goes to Edinburgh University
yeah,
and has a job in a pub, and she does it for two reasons. She does it because she has to graft and she needs money, and she does it because she meets people, and that's what you do. And if you sit at home... And of course, the problem is, and whenever we get into this debate, people will say, but Jez, there are people with mental illness. Yes, there are. And there are people with disabilities and illnesses that mean they can't work. Yes, there are. And I am more than happy, and I'll say it repeatedly, to pay my taxes and everything to help those people, because I agree with the basis of what the welfare state's about. I do not believe that by shielding people from the pitfalls of life, by wiping their backsides, by making it easy for them not to go to work, that we're doing them any favours long term. And thank you very much indeed. 8:23, loads to come still, including Ross Clark, columnist for The Sun next. On our way to the ad break, Darren on Rachel Reeves. Good morning.
Hi JK, great show, big long time fan. Rachel Reeves. She goes on about the money being in the social. Why didn't she start to think about all the money that's been spent on these migrants' hotels? That's where a lot of the money, and obviously they're paying for their food and their spending money, their mobile phone bills. Why not try there first? Great show. Darren from Shropshire.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the Talk TV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. What is it, 8:28, Wednesday the 5th of November. Two things that are important about today. Well, three things, to be fair. It's bonfire night. If you are going, be safe, kids. Nice. Toffee apples. Brilliant. Sparklers, Catherine Wheels. Donald Trump won his second presidency a year ago today. More from him in the next hour and a half. And also, I am told to... I've got to sell this, so I want you to concentrate. There's only one place to listen and watch Talk on your phone, and that's using the Talk app. It's new, by the way. It's fantastic. I'm not technically brilliant, but you can get the Talk app right now. Download it by Monday, the 1st of December. The Talk TV thing gone. The Talk app, it's brand new. Download it before the 1st of December. It'll be live, it'll be brilliant, it'll be fantastic. Christian, did I do that? All right, brilliant, OK. Good morning, by the way, to Frank in Buckinghamshire. When we speak of the BBC, Jez, I believe it now stands for the British Bias Company. Couldn't agree more. Good morning to Bill. It's a race to the bottom in my mind. We're now facing 3 weeks of extreme anxiety. The FTSE 100 is in free fall. When will Rachel realise, Rachel Thieves, that she's completely ruined our country and is out of her depth, Bill in Northumberland? Probably not for another 3.5 years, because they probably enjoy the trappings of success. Lorraine. Is that a message from Lorraine? Shouldn't she be on ITV soon? Russia, China and all dictatorships indoctrinate kids by removing the truth from textbooks and ensuring that curriculums gaslight their own ideology. What next? Will kids be expected to report parents who have right-thinking political views? I don't even say that in jest, says Lorraine, who's on ITV in 55 minutes. Jackie, I'm joking. Jackie, I resent paying a licence fee to a political party. I agree with your guest, shut down the BBC. It's hard not to think that the BBC is not a political party. We go to Lancashire. Why, I don't know why I did that. Peter, good morning. Decolonise the curriculum. That's why we got sick note Britain, Jeremy. The thing is, there'll soon be no one left to make the money to keep them on the sick. Brilliant. Finally, Susan from Sheffield. We're all over the UK this morning. Susan, 10 years ago, my son and his wife decided to homeschool their 3 kids, Jez. I was horrified. The eldest sat her GCSEs this year. They had to pay a lot of money for the privilege. Her results: 9s in French, English, physics, English literature, maths and Latin. They get no financial help, have no luxuries, but the kids are well balanced and are complemented by all reasonably thinking adults. I have eaten a huge slice of humble pie for my original reaction. It's really interesting. I was talking to a good friend of mine. You might actually know him, Steve Harmison, the ex-cricketer, who 2 of his kids were also homeschooled. And he said to me that, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, that he was almost like her against it and has been blown away. And when you think about what's happening to our education system, the stories that we're hearing today, Labour educational vandalism, they want to bring in climate change, fake news and diversity. And we're all sitting here going, hold on a minute, what about reading and writing and just normal everyday stuff? And maybe the reality is that more and more people will homeschool their children. Let us know what you think. 0344 499 1000. So much to talk about this morning. Net Zero's got you going. Good morning to Ross Clark. Great page 12 today in The Sun. Ross, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. Fine. How are you?
I'm all right. Not bad. I love this. Deluded PM's mission to COP30. That's why this is the Net Zero conference where they've taken out lots of forest and built this road, isn't it? So that lots of people on their gas-guzzling jets can go and talk about how the climate's on its back. The headline to your article, Ross, is brilliant. It almost says, UK an example of climate change inspiration, ? Only in the sense of how net zero obsession can destroy your country. Let me start by asking you something, because I struggle with the Friends of the Earth and stuff like that. When a country is financially in the hole that we are in, when we can't afford the interest on the debts we've got, Why would any government, if it was responsible, be chasing something that costs billions, that nobody else in the rest of the world is interested in being focused on, to the detriment of its own people? I don't understand.
No, well, no other country is as foolish to go down the line we are going. I mean, to put it this way, Keir Starmer's going out to COP30. He's going to boast once again that Britain's halved its carbon emissions since 1990.
So?
Let's just have a little statistical look at this. Last year, Britain's carbon emissions fell by 0.5%. But if you look at household emissions and transport emissions, they actually went up. The only reason our overall emissions fell was because there was a 7% fall in industrial emissions from factories, steelworks and so on. Why was that? Did British manufacturers suddenly adopt new magical carbon-free technologies? I'm afraid not. The reason is because industrial output is down. The value of industrial manufacturers fell by 3% last year. We are simply exporting our carbon emissions to the rest of the world, to gleeful countries like China, who are very happy to make stuff for us and grow rich as we sort of, we ruin our economy, ruin our industry, but through this sort of obsession with net zero.
I mean, I get, right? I followed what happened in Jamaica. I've spent a long time in the Caribbean for reasons I'm not going into. I understand about climate. I get all of that, but I go back to its priorities. When you are chasing something, what do we got? 1 and a bit % of carbon emissions in the world. As you say, Russia, China, not interested. When you look at the suggestions they've made, wind farms, right? When you know that that's doing nothing but increasing the cost of electricity, when you know that the old way of providing it might be outdated, but it's cheaper. When you think about oil and gas and nobody wants to drill and nobody wants to frack, all the other stuff we're talking about today, and you look at these people and you just think, what are you on? You're going to die politically, definitely on a hill of ideology, but along the way you're going to bankrupt this country. I find it astonishing, and I find that people like Miliband, to believe, Ross, that he's in the position he is, I find it actually genuinely quite frightening.
It is frightening. I mean, we've got the highest industrial electricity prices in the world, and still Ed Miliband is in denial about it. He says it's all because of gas prices are so high. Look, US uses a higher proportion of gas in its electricity production than Britain does, and yet its industrial electricity prices are about 1/3 of what ours are. I mean, the reason we have such high electricity prices is because we are trying to work in such a high percentage of intermittent renewable energy into the grid. That requires backup. It requires very expensive backup, short-term, bursts of energy from gas-fired power stations, which are so much more expensive than using them steadily throughout the day. And this is the rest of the world can see this. I mean, every other country, US, China, and increasingly even the EU, can see, that it's cheap energy is what makes the economy go round, and we still cannot seem to see this. We still have a government which, is in this fantasy land of thinking that renewable energy is bringing our prices down when it's quite patently doing the opposite.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because you talk about this, well, the rest of the world, I think we've become sort of humiliated on the international stage, whether it's financially or in terms of these green issues or so many things. I mean, I wanted to get your reaction quickly to this. So we were talking this morning about Miliband's wind blitz. He wants to blanket the British coastline with 3 times those bloody white things that go round and round. And yet, Ed Miliband, the man who can't eat a bacon sandwich, last week admitted that wind power is less reliable than he expected. And you go, this man's got billions at his fingertips. This man's dangerous, isn't he? I want to make you all laugh, though, including you, Ross Clark, on a Wednesday, to celebrate Trump's 1-year anniversary. He won the election a year ago today. Here is the Donald, love this, talking about wind turbines. Oh, for this sense in the UK. Go, Donald.
Wind needs massive subsidy.
And you are paying in Scotland and in UK and all over the place where they have massive subsidies to have these ugly monsters all over the place. They also kill all your birds. You know, they wipe out. You know, it's interesting. If you shoot a bald eagle in the United States, they put you in jail for 5 years. And yet windmills knock out hundreds of them. They don't do anything. You explained that. So it's a very expensive energy. It's a very ugly energy. And we won't allow it in the United States.
So we believe in a mix, and obviously oil and gas is going to be with us for a very long time, and that'll be part of the mix, but also wind, solar.
Has he finished? Sorry, Ross, we believe in a mix. We believe in a mix. Isn't Donald Trump bloody brilliant? Sorry, I'm just... Yeah, kill the birds.
It's one of his great skills. He's embarrassing foreign leaders in his presence. And,
brilliant,
I think he did wonderfully there to put Starmer on the spot, and Starmer, of course, couldn't sort of deny what he'd said, because partly because it's the truth, and partly because he's Keir Starmer, and he's doesn't want to ruffle the feathers with Donald Trump.
Well, Donald Trump said that wind turbines, and do more than ruffle the feathers, they kill the birds. Ross, great article. Thank you so much indeed. A great column this morning, page 12. UK, an example of climate change inspiration, or only in the sense of how net zero can destroy your country? Ross, thank you very, very much indeed. What is it? 8:39. Whatever you want to talk about this morning, 0344 499 1000. It might be how we're destroying our educational system. Russ in Devon. So Labour are going to introduce sporting misinformation to our kids. Great news, as they'll be able to spot the lies the Labour incompetence has fed us. Another own goal by this useless bunch of idiots. Michael in Islington, posh there. Trump serving McDonald's comedy gold Jezza. It really cheers me up on a Wednesday. Happy anniversary, Mr. President. And Zarina, really important text. Thank you for your text, sweetheart. I've suffered various degrees of depression in my entire life, and I'll tell you this, work is the best thing for me. I am more scared about retirement. I don't want that. Think on that. We'll go to a break and we'll come back, obviously, because if we don't come back, there wouldn't be anything. But Hannah, she's not very keen on the Tories. Take it away.
The Conservatives didn't just let us down. They literally handed the baton to Labour. So the decline we're seeing in everything, in our day-to-day life, in our salaries after they've taxed us to death, we're literally paying to exist. We're no longer, the British people are no longer paying to live. It's to exist now, and it's all the Tories' fault, and I will never, ever forgive them.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Let me tell you something that's very exciting for Talk. Today at 10 o'clock, in for Julia Hartley-Brewer, one of the nicest and talented broadcasters that you could meet. I started working with this lady 20 years ago when we used to do Loose Women together. Jane Moore, Sun columnist, top lady. Jane Moore on Talk from 10 o'clock this morning. We should put the cat right amongst the pigeons. Janie! She's on from 10 o'clock. Looking forward to that. 0344 499 1000. We're talking about how standards are dropped in schools and also what the Labour Party is doing to people. David says, I work full-time and on benefits. I'm in debt. It's getting worse. I've got 3 kids. I really don't believe that Reeves and my government know that I'm struggling. Katie says, Esther McVeigh is right. I remember when sports days in schools were changed into group tasks instead of individual challenges, and all students got participation awards, and they didn't feel bad for losing, says Katie in North Yorkshire. You are so right. I went to one of my kids' sports days, and literally I think there was a game between 2 teams, and the headmaster was at the side saying, come on both teams, and there's this argument I've had with schools about my boy. They have 3 teams, A, B and C, and the best players would be in A, but they take 2 players out of the A's every week and put them in the C's and vice versa to make everybody feel better, and then the team loses and you go, so what, winning's no good, is it? You've got to make sure it's just absolute rubbish. Ivor, not an engine. Jez, people defending the BBC have said it was just bad editing, but notice how they overlaid music onto it deliberately, made it seem one continuous sentence. I think completely agree. Laura, good morning. I found Rachel Reeves' announcement yesterday very interesting, especially when she said we all have to contribute. Did she contribute when she didn't pay her £900 to a local council for the landlord registration fee? Did Angela Rayner contribute when she avoided paying her stamp duty? One rule for them, it seems, and one rule for us. I find it disgusting. Bring on the next election, because I'm telling you now, they're gone and our Nige is in. Hello to Mike from Cheshire. Decolonising the national curriculum. So basically everything involved in education in this country, from mathematics to learning about British history, will no longer, it seems, be relevant to a kid. So I expect children going to school now will be given blank pieces of paper and be told to make up their own words. And finally, Steve in Ipswich. Morning, Jess. The BBC is a disgusting organisation that's lost its way and all respect around the world. In my opinion, the head of that organisation, Tim Davie, should be sacked, and it must be ensured that another like numpty doesn't take his place. Steve, I think many people would say we should go further and change the very ethos of what the BBC is. It needs to be in a competitive world. It's just there. It doesn't have to prove itself in terms of listeners, in terms of advertisers, and I think, as a result of that, has got really lazy. So much in the news today. Oh, this is great. So we're ruining kids' education. Not great. The BBC is biased. Factual. Not great. And this report out this morning from the former John Lewis boss, Sir Charlie Mayfield, that says that Sick Note Britain's costing £200 billion. And before you all jump up and down and go, there are lots of people who are ill, I agree. But apparently half of young people not working are not working because they suffer from nerves, anxiety, and they just find it all too hard. We say a very good morning. What a lovely, I love this name. Emma Trimble, writer and broadcaster, good morning.
Good to be with you, Jeremy.
I love Trimble. What a great, much better than Kyle. Emma, Sick Note Britain. What a joke. But more importantly than that, because there seem to be loopholes in every system, is this frightening statistic that half of young people are not working because of anxiety and bad nerves. We are breeding, are we not, Emma, a generation of entitled, lazy, sorry to say it, kids who don't ever understand the pitfalls of life because we won't allow them to experience them growing up.
Well, you know what, Jeremy, I think this relates to your previous segment. This sort of is a line from Alice in Wonderland that all must have prizes. I think this sort of softy approach in education has a lot to say about the fact that I think people are unwilling to have the grit of previous generations. They're afraid of competition. The sorts of things that overwhelm them are the sorts of things that wouldn't have even been on the radar of previous generations. And I think, you know, one of the aspects of this report it talks about barriers to work, but realistically, there have never been less barriers to work. We have the internet, people work from home. There are many, many things that people can do. I mean, there was a woman who spoke on Question Time recently about how she wasn't able to work because of anxiety and so on. And as someone rightly pointed out, if you're capable of going on television and airing your view, you're capable of doing something. There are many different ways that people can work in the economy that we now have. There are very, very few excuses. I also think that we should add to this that we can't ignore the fact that migration has got to be playing a part in this, because we've seen over, this report is talking about the number of people that have been have increased that are out of work since 2019, 800,000 people. But since 2020, 2.8 million people have come into the country. So there are many, many things going on here, and the system is clearly completely broken. And Rachel Reeves is instead focusing her energy on this sort of punitive measures against people who actually do work by milking them dry.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad you brought up the point about migration. I think it's twofold, really. I think you're right. I think we're breeding a generation that are entitled, that we're trying to be soft with, that we're not preparing. I mean, I said it earlier, and I sound like my dad, when he was here, which was, you had to get up in the morning, you had to graft, you had to earn your money, it was okay, the hard knocks of life. You can fail, you can be told off, you can be demoted. But if you've got a government that essentially wants to dumb everybody down from its education purposes forward and is saying to people, everybody should be the same and we should be more concerned about how others are feeling than getting on. If they increase NI on any small business, I've had people in their tens today saying we're closing our business, we're going to set up a new business, we're not going to bother anymore because this country makes it so difficult. And you're right. If you've got systems that people can come into this country and take advantage of, can you imagine another country in the world where you get on a plane today or a boat or whatever and you land and you go, I have no intention of working, I've got nowhere to live, I cannot show you my passport, but thank you very much indeed. And you're laughing, but it's true. I'm going to get a hotel and a credit card. I'm going to get possibly a job and a mobile phone at some point. I have no idea. You're going to wipe my backside. You're going to give me a doctor. You're going to give me a dentist. And while you're doing that, the indigenous population are missing out. Ludicrous. They'd laugh at me. They'd absolutely laugh at me. And yet we are doing it every single day here, Emma.
Yeah, I mean, I was smiling there because even a low-wage worker, according to OBR, even a low-wage migrant costs the economy £600,000 by the time they reach 81, which is the average life expectancy. So how much more so people who are coming in and who don't work, who immediately go on to benefits. I mean, this review it pointed out that the loss to the economy in terms of output to employers is 85 billion a year, but that doesn't include the 47 billion pounds a year in welfare payments and use of the NHS. I think the British people are quite right in feeling that we are being treated enormously unfairly. I mean, you mentioned your father. My dad, he's in his 70s. He still wakes up at 5 o'clock every day, works every hour that God sends, and he is exactly the sort of person who is being penalised by this government, and the constant talk of increasing taxes, first the national insurance rise, then probably what we're about to see is more taxes on income. The people who are the most productive in our economy are the people who are being punished the most. That's why so many people who have an entrepreneurial spirit are leaving the country. Those are the people that create the wealth that the government needs to tax. Of course. The system is completely unfair, and people are being asked to pay more and more taxes whilst, against their consent, more and more people are coming in that they have to pay for.
This is my point about the silent majority. You see, I think people are going, I think for years, we've got to finish in a minute, but I think for years people would just, well, things were okay, we were happy, we were sort of the moral leaders of so much. But right now we're skint, we can't afford, as I repeat, the debts, the interest on our debts, and we're saying to our population, we're going to tax you more. Your electricity prices are going up, your food prices are going up, your freedoms are going up, and we'll take all that, we'll take that. But hold on a second, people can come here free of charge and get treated far better than we're treating you. That is when the British population go, that's mad, that doesn't make any sense. Emma, please come back. You're my favourite guest of the whole week. Can you come back?
Of course.
Brilliant to have you on. Emma Trimble, thank you so much indeed. This is Morning Glory, 8 minutes to 9.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back to Morning Glory. We're here for another hour. Don't forget, Sun columnist, broadcasting genius and friend of mine, Jane Moore, is here for the first time ever this morning at 10 o'clock on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Jane Moore, brilliant, brilliant lady. Get involved in her show. It'll be the first of many, we hope, here on Talk. Jane Moore and Ian Collins, the housewife's choice, well, Mrs. Kyle's choice. She says, oh, my God, he's got such a voice. Yeah, I said you should see him. Anyway, he's on from 1 o'clock this afternoon. We're talking about how the Labour Party wants to, well, just basically ruin your kids' education. Forget the 3 hours. They want to teach climate change, fake news and decolonisation and diversity. The BBC is as biased as hell, and Britain's sick note culture is costing £200 billion a year, half of which are teenagers, or rather half of teenagers who don't work are off because they're stressed by the enormity of going to work. Sarah on Sick Note Britain, good morning.
Just listening to your conversation with a very sensible Esther McVeigh about the younger generation and the lack of resilience. We've often said, we've brought our kids up properly, and we've had so many discussions over the years about we've actually done them a disjustice for bringing them up properly. They both work in frontline emergency services, tough jobs, and they're treated like rubbish, really. Too many levels of bureaucracy above them. People have never done a frontline day in their lives, but we're very proud of them. It's tough for them, and I can't help thinking that if we'd not brought them up properly, they could have been sat on the dole having a much stress-free life. But that's the way it is. Anyway, excuse me puffing, out with the dog.
Oh, you're out with the dog. I thought she was nervous. Sarah, thank you so much indeed. I do actually genuinely also want to make a point that she touched upon. Younger generations, we can sit here and moan about what's being taught in schools. A lot of it should come from the parents, shouldn't it? I believe that if you instill in your children the right rules in terms of how to behave, the desire, the ethic to go to work, then that will rub off. I don't actually believe parents should always just pass that to the education system. So maybe I'm just giving you an example, inspired by my wife. My kids all go to work at 16. Alice went and worked in a cafe on £5 an hour. H is working in a fish and chip shop. That's the way it is. I don't make any apology for that. Good morning to Andy in Cheshire. So to celebrate Ed Miliband and Bridget Phillipson's net zero lunacy, Jez, today I'm going to light my log burner, heat my house using heating oil, drive my diesel car and have a steak this evening. Have you got that voice note that was quite funny? Have you got that to hand? That was brilliant from earlier. I don't know, what was the name of this person? Who? Gaz. Listen to this. Gaz was fantastic. Play it again.
Morning, Jez, mate. Great show, Gaz from Pontefract. Rachel Reeves is my name. Screwing the country is my game. I fiddle the books to hide my mistakes. Check my CVs, all of them fakes. Tax, thank you, I'll take it. I'll make you a promise and then I'll break it. I don't care if you get scurvy or rickets, as long as I still get my free concert tickets. I do have O-level in home economics, but everything else is a load of old rubbish.
Brilliant. 0344 499 1000 is the telephone number. 87222 for your text. We'll do the news at 9 next on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile. The home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Final hour of Morning Glory for Wednesday, the 5th of November. Yes, it's Guy Fawkes night. If you're going out, be safe, kids. I've done that 100 times already today. It's also the day that Donald Trump, 12 months ago, won his second presidency to become the 47th president of the United States. And more on him this hour. We will continue to talk about how the Labour Party this morning are being accused of educational vandalism. Maths and English is irrelevant. Climate change, fake news and the decolonisation and the pushing of diversity is apparently more important. The BBC under fire again today. Yesterday they were accused, quite rightly, of faking a story about Donald Trump's speech around the Capitol Hill riots. They put two stories together that were 52 minutes apart and made it up. Today they're being accused of minimising Israeli suffering and painting Hamas in a more positive light than Israel during their coverage. More on that. We'll also talk about how Sick Note Britain is costing 200 billion quid a year because a lot of kids are entirely frightened. Can I just point something out that's really important because Ricky will be happy? There's only one place to watch and listen. The old talkTV app goes from the first. The new Talk app on your phone, right? You can watch it, you can download it, you can have everything. You must do it by the 1st of December. The brand new, it's brilliant. It's brand, I don't understand what it is or anything, but if you download it, it'll say Talk app and then you download it and you'll be able to watch Julia and Ian and all the gang. Did I sell that all right? Go and get the Talk app. Thank you very much indeed. Morning, Jez. I'm sick of the climate BS. In the 70s, they said an ice age was coming. Then it was acid rain, and we were all going to die. Then the ozone layer was going to explode. By now, the ice cap should have melted 3 times, but strangely, they're still here. No developed country has solved homelessness. But if we just pay more tax, they can apparently change the Earth's climate. Nick, I could not agree more. JK, I'm now going to be paying 180 quid a year just to watch Talk on my telly as I don't watch any other live TV broadcast. Well, you can get the app, which would be a really good idea. You see what I did there? It's only one place to watch us and you won't have to pay 180 quid. It's absolutely free. Download the Talk app. You would have thought, right, that I made that happen, that was seamless. Complete luck. Stacey, good morning. Jeremy, great show. My daughter suffers with anxiety all through school and has done. It didn't help much when COVID hit. She was the year that spent 2 years at home. She didn't get particularly good grades due to this, but when she finished college, she managed to get a Christmas job at our local Tesco's. I can't tell you the difference this made. I thought she'd absolutely hate it, but she used to come home telling me all the people that she'd helped, all the people that she'd met, more about the elderly class who couldn't help with self-service checkouts, and she was really inspired. Getting up and going to work has given my daughter more confidence and more understanding of life skills than she would ever have got by staying at home. I'm not only really proud of her, says Stacey in Wallington, but I want to make the point that work is a good thing and there is something out there for everybody. Great, great text. Thank you so much indeed. Hello to Philip Malloy. On the BBC, my comment is, why don't they sell it off? Sell off the BBC to the highest bidder, break it up, sell off parts of it. That'll be a nice return. And then the new BBC can become independent and answerable. It can become an advertiser. It can survive in its own right and space, and it can charge a subscription just like all the other current providers. Phil, an avid listener. Thank you very much indeed. So many Phil. The lady is right. No idea which one. I started on ashtrays at 13. Strange. Running a nightclub by 15, illegal, and worked every summer day and night I could. Still use those skills in my daily job running a billion quid's worth of work. Biggest issue is the dependency that both governments have allowed the civil and public services to create. Kids in interviews demanding 3-day weeks for offshore field jobs, moaning about description. I hire now most from abroad where they are hungry for success. There's so much to debate this morning. 0344 499 1000. Now, if you've ever listened to Drive Time, you'll know I only really ever allow one lefty on because this man probably speaks more sense than any left-wing politician. He's a senior fellow at the Centre for Justice, Matthew Torbet, who was quite famous for saying on the night that Keir Starmer won his massive majority, "That's as good as it bloody gets. It's all downhill from here." Matty, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Jez. I'm well. How are you?
That was true. You did say that, didn't you, the night that Starmer was elected?
Yeah, so this is, I do fear this is the best it will get for the Labour Party, and that the next election will be between Labour and Nigel Farage. And people laughed at me at the time, and I don't think they're sort of quite laughing now.
Mate, I need to talk to you about many things. I want to start with the 18 minutes of my life that I will never get back yesterday when Rachel Thieve stood up and bored us all to tears in attempting, it seems, to lay the ground for tax breaks that she promised she wouldn't make. In fact, she repeatedly promised that she wouldn't during the election campaign. Then she had that October budget where she said, "This is a once in a lifetime, I won't be back." I've heard excuse after excuse about black holes and about the economy, much as I heard from the Tories about COVID. But the truth of the matter is that this is a government that has promised so much and is now realising that when you promise stuff, you have to be able to afford it. And it frightens me enormously that the financial impact of her decisions, a woman who I think is completely incompetent, just my opinion, are going to impact not just the wealthy. We're not talking Zach Polanski language here. We're talking about hard-working people, working people, that the Labour Party came to power saying they were going to help. I can't see that's truthful, do you?
I have a bit of sympathy for her in having to make the announcement. If she was going to do this, she's had to learn from Liz Truss. If she'd have announced this on the day of the budget, markets would have gone out, ridiculous. And it's not a great look. However, I was very much a critic, I think, on your show during the election, that both parties were not being truth with their economic outlook. Both main parties, the Conservatives and Labour, said there would be no cuts to public spending, but also there would be no tax rises. Now, one, if not both of those, were clearly going to happen because of the current economic situation. Now, I don't know if it was a failure of Labour for saying they would do that, or also the media in not properly holding them to account when there was no real plan for growth other than saying we will have the fastest growth in the G7. I think they could have got away with saying, we will do whatever it takes to get this country back on an even keel, because people were so fed up with the Tories, they would have trusted Labour and gone, well, we've got to look at the alternative. I think what's more dangerous now for the government is the quite obvious breaking of a manifesto pledge that you put front and centre of your campaign. And I think she's locked herself in her own fiscal straitjacket, whether that be tying yourself so closely to the OBR when 95% of people in the country doesn't even know what the OBR says. You could have just said, look, I'm not going to do what Liz Truss did, so trust me. Or whether it's saying things like this, you ruled out essentially your three main levers of bringing in money to the Exchequer. So I get why she made the announcement and sort of pitch roll a little bit. She's got to prepare things. However, we shouldn't be in this position in the first place. And actually, finally, I think if you were going to do this, she'd have got away with it a little bit more easier in the first budget, because you could have blamed Donald Trump and gone, well, we didn't know these tariffs were coming. We've been forced into this decision, so we're going to have to do it, unfortunately.
The thing that worries me, and we're mates, is when the Labour Party troll out the Liz Truss thing. I'm slightly bored of that, because the truth of the matter is, some of what Liz Truss, and you said this to me, was correct, most wasn't, but she did it too quickly and the markets got spooked. Yesterday, since that announcement, in the last 25 hours, 100 points off the FTSE share index, that's dropped. £22 billion off the values of shares and bonds that this country invests in and has interest in. At what point, with respect, Matthew Torbet, are the markets going to be spooked by a chancellor who doesn't seem to have a hand on the till, doesn't seem to have much of a grasp of economics? What say that the same thing couldn't happen to her that happened to Liz Truss and will bring the government down? Because I genuinely believe that's a possibility.
I think there's a possibility all sorts could bring her down. And I think, you might be bored of the Liz Truss stuff. I don't think people whose mortgages doubled are bored of it and are currently still living in the situation she put people in. there's a bit of a repeat of history here. I think if you remember the 1992 budget by Norman Lamont, who famously said he wouldn't put up taxes when John Smith in the election said that Labour would, and therefore the Tories got out of jail in 1992. He then obviously had to put up taxes, and we ended up in the exchange rate mechanism. Inflation went through the roof, and John Major actually kept a very unpopular Norman Lamont around because it meant he didn't have to take a kicking. Now, if that doesn't sound like a current Prime Minister and Chancellor duo, I don't know what does. Now, could this bring her down? Quite possibly, but I do think it does open a discussion that Andy Burnham mentioned and people went a bit nuts before Labour conference. In that we have to have a discussion in this country about things like neoliberal orthodoxy. If you were to say to Joe Bloggs, look, the Prime Minister's not really in charge, but these sort of faceless finance bureaucrats are, they would think you're insane. And why are we going to continue along this path where the government is essentially held to hostage and can't do what they maybe want to do, whatever your ideology, sort of Conservative or Labour?
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about specifically three things, and I'm really interested in how the Torbit's going to respond. Labour today accused of wanting to commit educational vandalism. They want to tear up the national curriculum. Proposals today from that frightening woman, Bridget Phillipson, include I don't know what this means, Matty, the decolonisation of books and texts to help boost diversity. Other plans include teaching primary kids about climate change and how to spot fake news. We Googled the 3 R's this morning because I'm old-fashioned. It says they stand now for resend, reuse and recycle. I'm sorry, I don't reckon... I mean, that is no... What about common sense, maths and English? What the hell's going on?
I think common sense is a good thing, and like lots of things, I suppose it's a bit like deodorant. Those people that need it the most never normally have it. It's a bit of a nightmare. However, I do think you can care about more things than once. I think the curriculum, obviously has its strengths. But you say it's common sense. You see people daily, unfortunately, because of bad faith actors, falling for things like AI videos and deep fakes. And unfortunately, I think this is a road we're going to career ahead on because of bad faith actors and people that wish to, I don't know, do harm to this country, to society or whatever else, or just a plain trolling. So I think it is useful for children to be taught techniques to
what, climate change? I don't want my 6-year-old talking about climate change. I want my kid to know how to spell and to read and write. Am I being outrageous in saying that? I don't think so.
No, but I think you can do more than one thing. And actually, even going back when I was at school, you do things like talk. It depends what this looks like, because we would talk about recycling before climate change was really on the agenda way back when I was at school. You talk about food wastage. I seem to remember we did an assembly on not wasting water, have showers, not baths, and all that. So I don't know whether this is something that's truly new or whether it's just teaching kids to be more mindful. Now, whatever you're being mindful is, I think that's a good thing, probably for kids growing up in society.
Well, agree to disagree. Yesterday, you might have seen the BBC accused of doctoring that Trump speech. Did you see this footage? Did you see it?
You will forgive me because I'm out in New York. I've seen bits of it, but not everything.
Can you line this up? This was Panorama. If you don't agree with me on this, you're fired. I'm joking. This is Panorama. They played They played a clip for Donald Trump about the Capitol riots. Love him or loathe him, this is what they played. When I've played you that, I'm going to play what he actually said. It was 52 minutes apart, and they doctored it. Our national broadcaster. Take it away.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Now, Matthew Talbot, he might not be your most popular person, but the BBC rightly under pressure again. This is supposed to be the state broadcast. It's supposed to be an unbiased organisation, not a bloated, ideological, huge unit full of people taking advantage. That's disgraceful. Surely you agree with me on that.
I'd say it's certainly not a good look if that's the footage they've put out.
Yep.
What I would say aside of the BBC is that I've seen on other American broadcasters during that time him say this, not quite the same thing 52 minutes apart, but he did say we need to go fight like hell.
Well, I'm not talking about American broadcasters, I'm talking about Panorama on the BBC, our state broadcaster, purposely cutting that up to make it look, they're under more pressure. I know you're in New York. Today, the BBC is said to have minimised Israel's suffering in its coverage of war with Hamas, to paint them as the aggressor. They still refuse to call Hamas a terrorist organisation. You've got Tim Davie hanging on by his fingertips. God knows how he is. We had all that stuff at Glastonbury and that bloke was shouting death, death to the IDF, right? He was allowed to get away with it. How can Tim Davie survive? The British Broadcasting Corporation, I think, without being outrageous, is not it is totally biased, it is totally ideologically based, and more than that, I don't think it can justify its existence in a market that you're supposed to prove with, you know, the quality of your work, to demand 180 quid a year from people who basically will go, I don't watch this rubbish anymore. It needs changing. It needs changing from the I just think it's awful. Sorry. Genuinely. Outrageous.
I think there's some good stuff the BBC does, don't get me wrong. I enjoy watching the BBC parts of it. I'm actually disappointed the things that they've done to local journalism and basically replacing BBC News with the World Service. I think the quality isn't there what used to be. With regards to Hamas, it's always confused me why they've never called them terrorists. They are terrorists, elected or not. They're quite clearly a terrorist group. I'm confused what the report means by painting them in a better light. Can you paint a terrorist group in a good light? Do we become sympathetic?
Well, if you don't call it... Hold on, yeah. If you don't call them a terrorist group, right, you're actively not telling the truth, but then you give £25,000 to the family of a Hamas official for their 13-year-old son to voice a documentary 6 months ago on primetime BBC. That's utterly biased. Utterly.
Which is a shame, because the documentary itself I went away and watched, and I think it's important to know on both sides what's going on the ground. And unfortunately, Israel doesn't let international journalists into Gaza, so we sort of know what's going on in Israel to an extent, but not quite in Gaza. The documentary itself I thought was superb. When you then learn whether it be due diligence not being done or people infiltrating the BBC at the other end, it's incredibly disappointing, and therefore people need to be held account. I've got no issue with sort of claiming that. Whether it's Tim Davies' fault or whatever, I don't know, but I think if things happen on your watch, unfortunately, it's on your head. As you know, if you're at the top of a food chain, you're the one that's running the gaff. So, yeah, no, that's fair enough.
I'm really interested. We've spoken lots over the years and how you've struggled in your life and what you've done, and your dad and all that. There's a report out today. Former John Lewis boss Sir Charlie Mayfield's written about Sick Note. This report, Sick Note Britain is costing more than $200 billion a year. Let's not have a debate about there are mentally ill people, disabled people and ill people, and I'm happy to pay my tax for that. But there's no doubt, like the NHS and like many things in the welfare state, there are loopholes being taken advantage of by people in our country and people coming in to this country. But I want to ask you about this. Within that report, really interested by your response, half of young people who are not working, the result of that is because they're anxious and they're full of nerves. Now, you're a nicer person than me, we know that. Are we not, in this country, in danger of creating a generation who learn nothing about the pitfalls of life, nothing about what it means to climb up from the bottom, to fail, to be demoted, to be told off? Oh, shock, horror, I've got to take 3 months off. Somebody said I'm crap at my job. What's happened to realism? What's happened to... I just look at that and I go, that is ludicrous. We have been inundated with texts this morning from people saying the best thing you can do is go to work and learn by your failures, because that provides you with a roadmap for life, Matty.
No, it does. I think part of it's about support networks, and this is clearly generational. I've long had the fear, as my nan would have said, that we are mollycoddling a whole generation of people. And I must admit, I did notice a shift in parenting, actually, after the whole awful Madeleine McCann case. And I noticed a lot of parents I knew began to think that they could protect their children from everything. And you can't, unfortunately. No. Kids break bones. Kids get into scrapes. Kids, we have to normalise resilience and rejection. Yeah. And then, you know, we've done a lot of work at the Centre for Social Justice on these sort of topics. And Gareth Southgate, I think, spoke quite movingly earlier in the year about things like mentorship and having... And I think part of it is, look, kids... There's all sorts we could go into. The fact that I worry about a push notification culture where the news is constantly awful, 24 hours, and you're getting this basically electronic device you carry around that is anxiety inducing a lot of the time because of world events. I think also when me and you were growing up, the only people we could compare ourselves to were the lads on our estate or the lads we went to school with. Unfortunately, now kids the whole world to compare themselves
I get
to.
that, but I take also the point that you said about parents, and I think this should be the point, is that, you know, rejection, failure, disappointment, being let down, lied to, is all part of life's rich pattern. And I take your point about social media. I think it's a really salient point. I think parents can't just blame the education system. I said this earlier. I think parents need to step up as well. But you're right. We shouldn't be mollycoddling. We shouldn't be saying it's OK. We should, to put your hands up and go, I can't handle. We should say, right, learn from it. The old man, I remember... something happened and he said you can have a day off work. It was terrible, right? And then you just get back out there. You're going back on the horse, you're going to do it. And that's sort of important. Matty, why are you in New York, by the way? Am I allowed to ask?
I've been supporting and campaigning for Zohran Mandami.
Oh, blimey. You haven't?
I thought that might shock you, Jez. No, I have. It's 4 a.m. here. We've had the election party and everything. I've had to get up. I would never get up at 4 a.m. for anybody other than you.
You're very kind. Well, we'll let you off. Thank you very much indeed. The legend that is Matthew Talbot, Senior Fellow at the Centre for Justice. What is it, 9:23? Kim in Manchester, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
No, I want to talk about the young generation of these days.
Yeah.
When I'm nearly 60.
Are you?
Now, yes, I am. Thank you very much for the compliment.
It's all right.
But the thing is, when they leave school, they don't know whether they want to carry on to go to college for further education or stay home, do nothing, just, you know, claim benefits. I've got anxiety. I don't know anyone. But the YTS scheme that I went on, it shows them different things like brickworking, building, wallpapering, mechanics, every job that you can think of, they can train in this specific area.
I couldn't agree more. But and those were practical things: apprenticeships, YTS schemes, and all the do-gooders go. Oh, well, I mean, you weren't earning a lot of money, no, but you were learning a skill, and you were getting that whole thing about going to work, getting something on your CV, feeling valued, feeling motivated. My point from what you've said, Kim, which I completely agree with, said it earlier. People were like, you can't say that. When I left school, you went to college, university, you went to work. I don't care what any bugger tells me. Nowadays, there's the third option. It's called signing on. And that's not what it was ever meant to be, was it?
No, but the government should step in and say to the young generation, this is what's going to happen. You either join a YTS scheme or you have to be in further education. You can't claim benefits until you're 20. It's as simple as that.
We're hardly going to say that to the younger generation, are we? Because we don't say that to illegal migrants. We give them benefits and we wipe their backsides. But we need to be tougher, and it needs to start at home. Kim, you're very kind. Thank you very much indeed. 925 0344 499 1000. Darren in Barnsley. As a now retired maths teacher, I saw the writing on the wall at least 20 years ago when I got rebuked for publishing the results of maths tests on my classroom door. The reason, oh my God, it might upset or hurt the feelings of those with the lowest scores. My message? Work harder and improve your bloody score then. To the ad break. Amanda, good morning.
Morning, Jeremy. Amanda calling from near Oundle in Northamptonshire. I live right at the back of a primary school, and almost daily I see children struggling, parents struggling to get their children to go into school. The most basic of things that you expect your children to do, just go into school. Is it the gentle parenting issue that's the problem? Is that why we've created so many people unable to tolerate the most basic of life skills? Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 9:30. We're live across the UK on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Morning glory till 10. In a tick, Simon Danchuk, a former Labour MP and reform defector. Ed's in Thurrock, that's in Essex. I was going to do a joke, I can't. I disagree with the lady who believes it's the Tories who got us into this mess with the Labour Party. The evidence was clear. There was ample warnings to voters. I remember a listener phoning in, Richard Tice, urging him to think twice about splitting the votes and putting the UK at risk of a supermajority. Reform will have you believe, they will say, that they can form the next government. And the polling, the last 148 polls, how did I know that? I'm not telling you, have shown Reform in the lead and heading for a majority government. Hello to Yvonne in Solihull. Solihull's the posh part of Birmingham. Honestly, as a retired teacher, it is so obvious that this current bunch of Labour incompetents are the product of a previous Labour policy on education. They are not the product of a grammar school education. They don't know how intellectually inferior they are. Net zero ideology being the best example. Hello to Vincent in North Yorkshire. I feel like I'm traversing the globe today. Well, England. Morning, Jez. Let's stop talking about the Department of Education. Start calling it the Department of Indoctrination. You don't get to go to university for a balanced education. Instead, you receive a left-wing indoctrination. Why do the left always go for the kids? Keeping us sane. I'll do my best. Hello to Stuart in Tunbridge Wells. Posh there. Do you know why it's posh? Not telling you. Jez, sure there is nothing like winning. Success breeds success. But when it comes to kids, they develop at different speeds. So there is a case to promote a couple of your second-best teamers every now and again, because they will likely respond to better players around them and gain from the experience. Don't agree. Likewise, two decent players dropping down can give a side a shape and control through which everyone benefits. The secret is to pick your games. Some you must win, some you can develop a bigger, more capable squad. I'll agree to disagree with you, Stuart, simply because, and this was a story I was saying earlier, my son's school, there'll be 3 teams, and they take 2 players from the best team every week and put them in the worst team, and 2 worst players who shouldn't be in the first team, and apparently that's supposed to be good. Now, I'll tell you what Stuart says. He's probably far more intelligent than me, but I think it's all part of this attempt to make sure that even if you crap at something, you feel good about yourself. I would suggest you work harder to be better at the game, get into the B's and then the A's, but maybe I'm old-fashioned. Dan's in Hartlepool. Esther McVeigh, spot on as always. This government is sucking the life out of everything. I've been in construction since I was 14, and for the first time in my life, I just think, what's the point? Labour have sucked the life out of even going to work. Final one for now. Who is this? No idea. The sick note issue, Jez, it's not that they have anxiety. I know a few people claiming for sick, PIP and benefits. Once they get their £400-odd universal credit and £700-odd PIP payment and their housing paid for, they get more money than the minimum wages. They've chosen not to work because it's not working. That cannot be the best way forward. Couldn't agree more. Keep those texts. They're brilliant. We appreciate them coming. 87222. Start your message with the word talk. I'm delighted to be joined now. A good friend of mine, we like him very much, former Labour MP and reform defector. I sounded like Donna, we like him very much. Simon Danchuk, good morning.
Good morning. Good to join you.
This is, I thought I was going to calm down as I headed to 10 o'clock, and then I was handed this. This is in the Telegraph today. School governors have been encouraged to dismiss concerns about grooming gangs as disinformation, the Telegraph exclusively revealing today. Thousands of governors undergoing safeguarding training this year were presented with a scenario involving rumours of men belonging to a particular religion committing violent crimes against women. They were asked to identify the scenario as an online safety risk because children were spreading disinformation. Simon, I'll just as a father be speechless. I'll leave it to you.
It's outrageous, to be quite frank, and all this comes from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, which was an inquiry looking at historic child abuse, and it ran for a number of years. Professor Jay was the chairman of that inquiry, a very good inquiry, and it made a variety of recommendations. I was an architect to that inquiry because I was a Labour MP at the time, and I pressed the Home Secretary to introduce that inquiry. So it did some really important work, and one of the recommendations was that school governors should be trained in how to spot child abuse. And so this is where it comes from. So we've got this Governor Hub, which is an online training platform that is effectively spreading disinformation. It's not helping school governors spot child abuse at all. It's doing the opposite. It's encouraging them to dismiss child abuse.
Well, can I pick a hole in, not in your work, but can I pick a hole just off the top of my head, right, in what you've just said? Governors are unpaid volunteers who are given a sort of role making decisions. They meet once a month, 3 times a year. How can they identify child abuse when they're not in school on a daily basis, would be my first point.
Right. Well, the answer to that is I've been a school governor many years ago, and the school governor board is usually made up of teacher governors,
right,
parent governors, people who are close, councillors,
right,
local councillors, governors, and so they are people who are close to the school, and they might hear conversations that pupils are having, and that's the scenario that's created here. So the training module says, listen, these pupils have been discussing men of a particular religion, that's what it says, developing new forms of abuse of women. It says and then they're given a multiple choice answer, and they can choose, is it disinformation, is it misinformation, or is it a conspiracy theory? Well, and so they can't choose to say, well, it might be real, the pupils might have spotted real grooming gangs. They have to dismiss it. The scenario is completely
I'd love to know, and you'd know more than me, you represented the area where most of this started, up in the Rotherham area, but here's what I don't get. I said it the other day. We can attack Labour about not wanting an inquiry, but I will attack every politician because this has been going on for years. And I'm not just talking about politicians, I'm talking about institutions, local politicians, the NHS, schools, the police, all sorts of local institutions, national politicians. I have no understanding, Simon, as a father, right, how this society, our society, somehow and even continues to turn a blind eye, and I'm sorry if this is going to upset a few people, to the horror, the heinous horror of 8-year-old schoolgirls being attacked, raped, groomed, whatever you want to call it, by men. And I said it the other day, I don't give a damn, right, about the colour of your skin, your creed, your religion. I don't want to live in a society where young girls are not safe because men seem to think it's okay to get away with that, and we as a society don't jump on it because we might upset people. That's appalling.
Absolutely, and this is an example of where that sort of attitude, we can't upset particular religions, because that's what the question refers to, and it has to be dismissed as disinformation. That's clearly wrong. We've not learned, or some people haven't learnt any lessons in all of this. The whole idea of the National Inquiry into Child Abuse was to learn lessons, and yet you've a strata in our communities who are organising the education of governors who are insistent upon ignoring the religion of the grooming gangs. They still think we have to take the same tack as the police and social workers took that actually enabled the abuse to take place. So some people just refused to learn the lessons.
I mean, I remember when we were covering Rotherham on the Drive show, and the head of the police in Rotherham said, we don't really... I mean, we will freely admit we were perhaps a little bit slower than we could have been, and it took us 8 years because we didn't want to feed multicultural unrest. At the same time, I'm just thinking I heard a woman, one of those commentators, I won't name her, and she went on some television programme and said, well, that's what happens. Every time we talk about that, they talk about Asian grooming gangs. There are white men that do it, which is why I sit here and say as a father, I don't give a damn where the man comes from. It is a crime that means that you shouldn't have your liberty. And I don't understand, from Starmer to local whatever, grown men look in the mirror and go, you're all right with that happening to kids, are you? Because I'm not. And I think it's a disgrace. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how police officers, I suspect that many frontline police officers were really concerned about this. Mm-hmm. But then you have, chief constables who I think over time were really saying, we have to celebrate multiculturalism, because that's what Sir Peter Fay said in Greater Manchester. He was the chief constable. He came to Rochdale in 2012 and said, we have to celebrate multiculturalism. That was on the back of the Rochdale grooming scandal. It's the last thing that people wanted to hear in Rochdale at that time, but he was insistent upon it. So that really trickles down to the front line, to the point where you've got frontline police officers ignoring the abuse that's taking place for fear of upsetting particular communities. But we've seen it today. There's another report out from the National Crime Agency, who's now reviewing all these cases that have been ignored, and they say that some of it was down to human error. Well, it wasn't human error. It was police officers failing to pursue perpetrators, failing to take statements properly from the victims, not following lines of inquiry. All of that wasn't human error. It was deliberately ignoring the victims to the point where the perpetrators were emboldened to carry on committing child abuse. That's the reality of it.
And that's the point, and that's I'm trying to clear up tea that's gone over. But that's the point of my what I'm saying to you. As a father, as a human being, as a sane part of society, I don't understand that, mate. I think it's an absolute stain on us. There's so many stains at the moment, but that for me is absolutely outrageous. Simon, so good to have you on the show, my friend. Please come back very soon. Simon Danshuk there. So many of you trying to get... I'm trying to get through all of this. I'll tell you what, we'll go to an ad break. Tom, good morning. Oh, you haven't got that. Brilliant. You didn't hear Mark say that, but he said to me, I haven't got that. Good morning to, Vinny. What, Vinny? From Dartford. Nice. At school, we had cooking, woodwork, metalwork, and I had a paper round. Then I worked with the milkman, and I cleaned out bogs at the local power station. Good old-fashioned graft. I tried to install this in my kids, and they've both got good jobs, and they don't go sick. That's the most important thing. Take two on Morning Glory. Let's go to the ad break with Tom.
Morning, Jeremy. Tom here. This is just in relation to the new proposals for education. So we've got energy, business, housing, defence, borders, finance, agriculture, transport, and now education. What next is going to be screwed up by this Labour government?
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile. The home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 9:45. It's a brilliant, brilliant thing. The Talk app, you need to get it before the 1st of December. It's free. You don't have to pay 180 quid like you do for your TV licence. Just download it and you can follow us 24 hours a day. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Jez says, Ash in Essex, my son is 16 now and in college training to be an electrician. Not only has it been extremely difficult for him to find an apprenticeship, but it's been difficult to get him somewhere. He's struggled to find a job despite having me firmly up his backside, pushing him to get one. He's called so many electricians, only been told they are not taking on. This government and the last has failed young school leavers. I worked an apprenticeship in a workshop from 16, but those roles don't seem to be out there anymore. He's making the point. There are kids that do want to work, and there are kids who are not being given the opportunity. Gaz is in Yorkshire. Schools are full of DEI and woke tosh, Jez. They're part of the de-Britain the UK. It starts at school. The seed they plant, and they nurture that seed, and it grows to their most important and impressionable parts of their lives. Feeding anti-British propaganda, telling them things like there's 1,000 genders. Don't start me on that. A year ago today, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump won the US presidential election, become the 47th president. He not only won the college vote, he won the national vote, confounding everybody, but I personally think I could have beaten Kamala Harris with a hat on. He won his term, he was sworn into office in January, and quite a lot has happened since. Let's just give you a couple of examples before we head stateside. Let's get him. This is my favourite clip of all time. This is Donald Trump dealing with Starmer as only he could, and God, I wish more would do the same. Go for it, Donald.
United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's our friend? Where? Come here. Is everything going good?
Very good.
That's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others.
Thank you for coming up, you odious, useless creep. Now just disappear back. What about, this is my favourite, latest one. He's spending $300 billion, no, $300 million on a new ballroom. He's ripping down the East Wing. He's just, this is him. And when he gets criticised, this is his response. This is the ballroom clip. This is brilliant as well.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Taking a little room. Come down and talk to us. Yeah.
What are you building?
Garden, look. With the ballroom, which is on the other side. Are you considering more renovations, sir? Hello, Peter.
Are you going to build up?
Aye, sir.
Doesn't care. God, don't you wish we could have somebody with that just nerve in this country. Let's cross to Phoenix. So we're going to Phoenix, Arizona. I once went there. It was bloody hot at 4 o'clock in the morning. From Arizona Morning News, LaDonna Harvey, welcome to Talk Breakfast. How are you?
Hello, Jeremy. Good to be there.
That is the greatest voice ever. Can you just do that again, please? That is fantastic. Do that again.
Good morning, Jeremy. It's good to be there.
I loved Phoenix. Great golf courses in Arizona. Love Phoenix. LaDonna, let's talk about the Donald. I know in your country he's a figure that sort of cuts down the middle. The same in this country, but there are many people in this country who would crave having a politician who very simply, love him or loathe him, tells you what he's going to do. And shock horror, bloody well does it. How refreshing.
It's unusual in politics, and but Donald is his own guy. President Trump, in the year of his second term, and keeping in mind that we've done this dance before, in the year since he's been elected, has continued to just poke holes in people, prod them, and not care what they think about anything at all, no matter what he's doing.
What is the feeling, Donna? What is the feeling in in the country? I mean, we hear about we talked about this. Zoran Mamdani has been elected in New York. He's a communist, isn't he? But that's according to Trump. What do American people think? Because certainly he's cured the immigration problem on the border. He'll say he's ended 8 wars, and love him or loathe him, what he's managed to do in the Middle East, no politician had done in America for 20 years. We know he does politics differently, but he's a doer, isn't he?
Well, I mean, he is. The interesting thing about him is he has a certain amount of bluster about him. He is very much a typical New Yorker, unlike us Phoenicians who are too hot to be that hot under the collar 90% of the time. But that bluster worked in the Middle East, which all of the diplomacy that we've tried over the last bajillion years has been completely unsuccessful in the Middle East in trying to get some sort of peace, just even a ceasefire, just everybody lay down your arms and talk. At this point, this guy's the one who does it. Now, you can love him or you can hate him, but you have fewer people dying over there because of the way that he approached that particular bit of diplomacy. It worked. You can't deny it.
Let's talk about Democrat Zohran Mamdani. Wins the New York mayoral election last night, sweeping to victory. The 34-year-old Democrat turned his attention to Donald Trump, yelling, "I know you're watching." These people, he's only 34. Even his own Democratic Party didn't support him. Whether this is a protest vote or not, is this the future of America? Zohran Mamdani, is he going to be running for president sometime soon?
Well, he might. I wouldn't put any money on his chances at success. He's also a product of New York. New York is its own world. For anybody who's ever been to the United States, all the rest of us look at New York and go, "What is wrong with you people?"
I lived there 3 years. I know exactly what I mean. Do you know the first day I sat on the stoop? I'd gone to do the show. I sat on the stoop of our new house down on 56, wherever it was, I've no idea, down on the video, and I literally was sat there with a drink, and a man came past me, don't offend anybody, on a skateboard, on my life, with a cigarette in his mouth, a monkey on his shoulder, in a tutu, and I thought, welcome to bloody New York City. That is absolutely true story.
That is absolutely New York. You have New York and Los Angeles, and then you have all the rest of us in between, like a bunch of dead armadillos in the middle of a Texas road. We just don't even know what to do at this point. We're stunned and possibly infected with a weird disease. We don't know.
Listen, so good to have you on. Have you ever seen the Donald Trump new watch clip? Have you ever seen this? Because I'm going to play you out with this. But Ladona, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. From K-Star Phoenix, Arizona, we are from the Arizona Morning. She's in the makeup room. I want a job on your station. Thank you so much to Donna Harvey. Let's play the Donald Trump watch clip to the break. This is brilliant. Have a watch.
Hello, everyone. It's President Donald J. Trump, and it's Trump time. Check out this red beauty. It's one of my new watches. Wear it proudly on your wrist, and everyone will know exactly what it's for, who it represents. It's really going to be something special. It's for your favorite president. Get your watch today at gettrumpwatches.com. Please make a great gift. It's Trump time.
Oh, my God. Gettrumpwatches.com. It's Trump time. Can you imagine having a Starmer watch? Faceless. See you in 3.
Big news coming this December. Our talkTV app is moving to the Talk app. You can watch, catch up and listen to all your favourite shows and podcasts anytime, anywhere, all on the Talk app. From Monday, 1st of December, the talkTV app will no longer exist, so don't miss out. So head over to your App Store or Google Play and search Talk now.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is Talk.
Welcome back. 3 minutes to 10. We're live across the United Kingdom. Morning Glory is almost over. Thank you to the gang. Top job. Very quickly, Andy. Good morning, Jez. I took part in the inquiry into child abuse as a survivor. The only good thing to come out of that inquiry was that the victims received long-awaited counselling that they couldn't receive on the NHS because of long waiting lists for neurodivergent conditions. Andy is in Bridgend. Gary Phillis, good morning. It seems that every institution has been captured to the point the only thing you cannot be is British. Britishness is apparently illegal. Mick in Wallington, the BBC enables terrorist propaganda to be spread around the world. Any government concerned about security and safety would close them down. Kerry in Coventry. Morning, Jez. As a new grandmother, I've decided I will take early retirement and homeschool my grandchild. This nonsense, I am not going to allow it to infiltrate my daughter. Finally, Louise from Ipswich. Morning, Jez. With so much illiteracy and innumeracy, you try saying that in schools, why are kids of 10 being taught about religions and other things that are barking mad? I've no idea. And please, can you get Starmer a job at McDonald's? No. Welcome to a friend of mine. She was always lovely to me and I was lovely to her. Jane Moore, Sun columnist. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. You okay?
You're looking very good there in your freshly ironed shirt.
I ironed this at 4:30. What do you reckon?
You did a very good job.
Do you not good at ironing?
No, never bother. I only ever buy things that don't crease. It's much easier.
That jumper's very creased.
It's not.
Welcome to Talk. She's even more outspoken than me, aren't you, mate? You think the world's gone vanilla and barking mad.
I used to be. I'm sort of... I've had to rein it in a bit. Times have changed.
Don't have to here. I mean, we've been talking today about educational vandalism. They want to teach kids about climate change, fake news and decolonise texts and books to help diversity.
Yes, those are the bad bits. I also think there's a few good bits in there, so I'm going to be talking about that a bit in the next 3 hours.
BBC under pressure yesterday. The fakeness of that. Did you see the Donald Trump thing? Under pressure about Israel as well today.
Yeah, clip it. Basically, editing something with an hour between each part of it is not acceptable, really. If you're the BBC.